Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha. So, continuing on with our discussion of Mumuksupadi by Pila Lokacharya with the commentary of Manavala Mahamuni. And last time we started the actual sutras of Mumuksupadi called Churnikas. And we came up to, I think we did the first 5 sutras. So what we're going to do today is we're going to try and get through a lot more. And we had a general understanding of the whole text, of the meanings, the different meanings by the acharyas of the southern school and the northern school, the Tengalais and the Wadagalais, by reading through the introduction. But now we're going to go into detail. We've started the first part. The first part is called Thira Mantra Prakaranam. So let's have a look and see Sutra number 6. So we came down to the question. There was a question at the end of the discussion last time about Naraina Rishis, Nara Rishi and Naraina Rishi. So the Lord appeared as Naraina Rishi and also as Nara Rishi in Badrikashram in the north of India, right, to teach the Astakshara mantra Om Namo Narayanaya. Now the question comes, though, it wasn't enough for him to just appear as the Acharya, in other words, as Naraina Rishi, and teach it, right, and reveal it. Why did he have to become also the student, Nara Rishi? So that's an interesting question. So that question is going to be discussed here now in the 6th Sutra. So the 6th Sutra says, the people of the world did not know how a disciple, how a student, how a shishya ought to be or ought to act. Thus he became a disciple in order to make that known. Okay, fair enough. So he did not only reveal this as an acharya, he himself also became the disciple. The people of the world did not know the characteristics of a disciple. That is, that he should, 1, desist from other aims, right? So this is going to give the qualities of the disciple here, characteristics of the disciple. In Sanskrit, we call these lakshanas. So desist from other aims. So a disciple should be one-pointed in his focus. He should have one aim, and his aim should be, of course, what is the aim? The aim is moksha. Moksha is, again, defined by Sri Vaishnavas as the eternal service of the Lord. Normally in Vaikuntha is the easiest place to do it. Okay? But anywhere, the eternal service of the Lord, that's our idea of moksha. That's our idea of liberation. Because that is our actual true nature, to be completely subservient and serve the Lord. So he should have that one aim, and he should desist, therefore, from other aims. Right? So no multitasking here. Single purpose. Number 2, be eager to adopt the sadhana for this aim. Okay, so here we're talking about the word sadhana. The sadhana is to achieve the sadhya, or the object of the practice. Again, the sadhana to achieve the sadhana is prapatti, or surrender to the Lord, by which we achieve moksha. We say it's property, but actually the sadhana itself is the Lord. The Lord himself is the means, the upaya, and therefore there is really no sadhana for the disciple. But as we've stated before, we discussed before, the idea is that after finding an acharya, the acharya is going to give us the Thira Mantra, the Astakshara Mantra, and through the meditation and through chanting and through use of the Thira Mantra, or by the Thira Mantra, which is non-different from the Lord, we are then going to attain the Lord. The Lord himself, even above and beyond the mantra, is the actual upaya, the main upaya, the actual means, right? But the initial means, there are some initial means such as controlling the mind, controlling the senses, finding a proper acharya, taking samashrayam, getting the Thira Mantra, and then letting the Lord do everything, basically. So the second quality so first of all, he has to desist from other aims, to be eager to adopt the sadhana for this aim. Number 3, feel oppressed by samsara and eager to get out of it. Arti. So this is part of prakriti, is this feeling of karpanya, or helplessness. He has to not only feel the helplessness, but he has to, in a sense, he has to give up struggling. He has, like a drowning man, he has to give up that idea that he can save himself. But the first part comes when he understands the oppression of living in this material world, of going around and suffering in the cycle of birth and death, which is called samsara, right? So that you first of all have to acknowledge that. And second of all, have to acknowledge that there isn't really anything that we can do about it personally. We cannot do anything about that personally, but the Lord has to save us. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing, be respectful. Okay, well, it's sort of obvious. If we look at Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tadvidi paripatrena paripashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha, in the 4th chapter. So one should approach a person who is in knowledge. The guru is in knowledge. The guru has the Astakshara mantra. The guru knows his position in relationship to the Supreme Lord, and therefore he can instruct others. And we should approach the acharya, and we should inquire from him. Pariprashnena. Prashnena means by questioning, and seva means we should offer some service to him. So this shows the attitude of the servant, the attitude of the the attitude of the student. The attitude of the student is not questioning. There's 2 types of questioning you can have. Like, somebody can come to you and they can question you. Why did you do that? Why did you do that? In a very harsh way. You can question somebody else's actions or thoughts or doctrines. You can question in a challenging way. And you can also question in a very open way, in a very open-minded way. And you can simply say, okay, can you explain to me why this or why that? And so this is emphasized in the Bhagavad Gita by the word sevaya, that the student should also perform some service for the guru. And really the service, the main service that the student has to have, he has to have an open mind, and he has to be somewhat favorable towards the acharya, right? It's very difficult if you go into a class with a teacher, and if you think you know more than the teacher, you're not going to learn a lot. However, if you go in with a challenging attitude, if you go into a class and you think that you know, if you know that you know less, even if you think you know a little less, why would you go to a class? Why would you go to a teacher if you think that you know more than the teacher, right? So some people maybe they take a class in university and they think they already know everything, and they just take it because they have to have that piece of paper, they have to have that doctorate, they have to have that degree, and therefore they have a certain number of course hours that they have to take, but they think they already know the subject. So that's possible. Somebody might be like that, but that's not really the way to learn something. The way to learn something is to, first of all, admit that you don't know it, or you don't know it fully, and to admit that somebody else may, have some good insights, or may know the subject better than you do, and be able to teach you. So in order to do that, you have to be a little bit respectful. You have to be a little bit humble, and not be completely full of false ego, thinking that you know everything. Okay, so it has to be respectful, right? And number 5, have no jealousy. Well, it's very much similar to being respectful. One can be respectful. One can be respectful of a person who has more knowledge, a person who is more advanced or is greater in spiritual life than us, like that. But then also one can be jealous. One could be jealous. It's possible to be jealous of that person. I would say, I don't know. Personally, I would say to be a little bit jealous is maybe not a bad thing. To want to achieve the high status of the acharya, that's not particularly a bad thing. But here, what he's saying is that we shouldn't be jealous in the sense that normally jealousy in the material world is considered a bad attribute, for the reason that people who are jealous, they try and pull down the person who is actually more that they're jealous of, or instead of some people see life as a zero-sum game. Okay, what do I mean by that? Zero-sum game means that if I win, you can't also win, right? Just like if we have a team sport, one team is going to win. At the end of the game, one team has won, the other, so some are the champions, the other guys are the losers, right? So, but that is not the way in spiritual life. Everybody can be a winner. Everybody can be a champion. Everybody can achieve perfection, right? It's not that if the guru has achieved perfection that somehow or other we can't achieve perfection unless somehow we show that the guru is not perfect and we are more perfect than the guru. So there should be no idea of jealousy, because it's a win-win situation. Spiritual life should be a win-win situation. Everybody should be able to attain moksha. It's not that only I can attain moksha if everybody else stays down. I want to show that I'm more advanced by showing that other people are less advanced. I want to speak in such a way. I'm going to speak in such a way as to show all these other people that they don't really know what they're talking about, and to put them down. No. Instead, we should try, especially with other Vaishnavas, right? We should try to hear what they have to say and to try to learn from them. There's a great Pandit called Chanakya Pandit in India, and he says that you can take gold even from a filthy place, right? If there's some gold and it's lying in dirt or in some unclean place, you'll pick it up. If you can take a gold from a filthy place, you can take a good wife from a low family. This is maybe a little misogynistic, but anyway, the idea is that you can accept a very good wife or a very good husband, even if they come from a lower class situation. And you can accept advice even from a child. This is what he says. This is what Chanakya says. Advice even from a child. So if I'm doing something, and I might make a mistake or something, and the child tells me, "Oh, don't do it like that. Do it like this. This is actually a better idea. You should do it like this." If it's correct and if it's acceptable, then why wouldn't I accept good instruction even from a child? From anybody, I would accept good instruction. If it's good instruction, accept it. Some people, just because it comes out of the mouth of somebody they don't like, they have some personal animosity towards somebody. Just because it comes out of that person's mouth, they think, "Oh no, I can't accept that. I can't accept that." Just because he said it or she said it, like that. That is also another form of jealousy. Okay, so all of these, what have we got here? There's some things which we can. Some things have been put in positive ways. Some of these have been put in a positive spin. Desist from other aims. In other words, be one-pointed. That's a positive way of saying that. Be eager to adopt the sadhana of the aim of this aim. Feel oppressed. Right? Sounds a little negative, but it's actually a positive thing. Be respectful is positive, and not have any jealousy. So again, we're looking at the negative way of looking at the respect. So being respectful is the opposite of, basically the opposite, although there's some slight difference, of being respectful. This has been stated in the following passages. Right. So here are these 5 ideas of the perfect student, the perfect disciple, are given some more explanation. One who is a believer who conducts himself according to Dharma is of good character. A Vaishnava, pure, serious, clever, and steadfast, should be considered a disciple or shishya, right? So a Vaishnava, basically that. Well, that's all we have to say is a Vaishnava, and then all these other things are accepted as part of being a Vaishnava. Having good character, who conducts himself according to Dharma. Dharma means what? According to the Shastras, what the scriptures, whatever the scriptures say, right? Pure, serious, clever, clever meaning intelligent, right? Steadfast. Steadfast means stoic and to a certain extent stoic and very determined, right? Should be considered a disciple, a good disciple. So one who the next thing is one who bears his body, wealth, intelligence, house, actions, qualities, and breasts for the guru, for the teacher. He and no other should be considered a disciple. Okay, so this sounds like a quotation from some Dharma Shastra or something like that. Again, it's a nice definition like that. Basically, he's all in with the guru. He's completely devoted. So mind, body, words, everything. So a disciple who has a pure mind, reverence for good people, and exemplary conduct, who is eager to know the truth, obedient, free from pride, self-effacing, right? Humble, yeah. Inquisitive, composed, and restrained, free of jealousy, who has passed a thorough examination, okay? Kind of examination. The guru has to examine the student and is grateful. He should be taught the truth. Good. So these are all good quotations here about the qualities of the student, perfect student. Therefore, he made this known by his own conduct. We're talking about Nara Rishi. Nara Rishi, who was the disciple of Naraina Rishi. If he had revealed this only by teaching it, in other words, if he had just come as a teacher, like Naraina Rishi had come, people might have thought he's only trying to show his own superiority. Okay. But when he made this known by his own conduct, he made it easier for them to say, we also need this, and thus to gain faith and undertake it themselves. Okay. Is it necessary to get the required knowledge in this way by becoming a disciple and learning this mantra? Aren't the Shastras, the arts of knowledge, also ways to acquire learning? When one studies them, isn't knowledge gained by this method? Using an analogy, he reveals the difference when knowledge gained from Shastras and knowledge arising from this mantra. Okay. So here's some more questions coming at the end of the discussion of the Sixth Sutra. Before we go to the Seventh Sutra, let's have a look at the commentary by P.B. Anangacharya and on the Sixth Sutra, and let's see what he says about that. So here is the Mumuksupadi Sarata Deepika, which is a small commentary by P.B. Anangacharya of Kanchipuram, who was a Tengalaya Acharya. So the meaning, once again, of the Sixth Sutra he gives as, if one wonders why Sriman Naraina, who is the first amongst acharyas, took the role of a shishya or a disciple, the answer is, since the jivas of this world are not aware of the true nature of a disciple, he donned the role of one. Okay, so this is the sutra that we're talking about here. So he says, there may arise a question that why should he simply not have released the Thira Mantra as an acharya, as a teacher. Why did he also have to take on the role of a shishya, or a student? The answer is that because the souls in this world did not know the nature of a shishya, or a student, he took the role of a shishya, or a student, to make known the nature of one. A further question might arise, that did he have to actually become a shishya, or a student? Could he not have simply advised the nature of a student, right, of a shishya, to everyone, right? He could have come and he could have just told people, this is what a perfect student is, this is what you should be like. Had he done that, it is possible that the jivas might think that he is announcing the Thira Mantra just to gather fame for himself. Okay, possibly. By his becoming a shishya, or a student himself, the jivas would begin to wish that they too become students, shishyas, and to acharyas, to teachers. The nature of a shishya is this: one who is faithful to the shastras, one whose mind wishes to follow the dharmas detailed in them, one who has the mental strength to follow them, one who practices bhakti to Srimad Naraina, one who does not have pride in him for having the above, right? One whose love for his acharya cannot be measured by others, one who has no equal in his faith to the acharya, one who is restless in his service to the acharya. Restless means always anticipating and wanting to serve the acharya more. Also, one who considers himself and everything he has as belonging to his acharya or teacher. That person is a shishya, is a student, is a proper student. So he's given that summary there. Nyasa Vimsati. Now, nyasa means property. Nyasa means placing. When we say nyasa in terms of ritualism, we mean placing syllables of a mantra on our body or on the body of the deity. This is called nyasa, touching, right, or placing. It means placing. Nyasa means placing. In this context, the word nyasa means, and we get the word sannyasa from that. Sannyasa also comes from that word. So nyasa, yeah, we're just continuing on with the sixth. We're just discussing the sixth sutra. We finished the fifth sutra last time, so we're just going to finish the sixth. We're just going to do the sixth sutra. Welcome, Premananda. Okay. So continuing on, we're talking about Nyasa Vimsati here at the end of this purport by P.B. Anangacharya on the sixth sutra of Mumuksupadi. So Nyasa Vimsati, Vimsati means 20, and Nyasa means property. So there are different stotras that are written by different people. Like Vedanta Deshika wrote a thing called Nyasa Dasakam, which we already went through with Dr. Thira Narayana. But Nyasa Vimsati, which I believe is by Manavala Mamuni, is 20 verses on property. So Nyasa Vimsati explains the nature of a shishya or a student thus. A shishya or student is one who has the knowledge of what to give up and what to keep as a means to his higher goal. One who based on his knowledge surrenders to his elders, one whose everyday acts are based on this knowledge, one who seeks to understand the higher truth, one who is in the service of his acharya or teacher, one without ego, one who bows with his entire body, one who looks forward to listen and learn, one who has control of his mind and body, one who has no hatred towards anyone or anything, one who stays in his acharya's abode or lives in the house of the acharya. So it's a very traditional system that the students go and they live in what's called Gurukulam. The guru means teacher, and kulam means family. So they go and actually live with the family of the acharya. One who has faith in the Shastras, one who has gratitude. Such a person should be accepted and taught as a disciple or a student. Sriman Naraina became a shishya to show the above nature of a shishya. So the question here was, why did Narayan Rishis, why did Sriman Naraina, why did Sriman Naraina have to come as a disciple also? Why did he come as a teacher? We understand he comes as a teacher to us to teach. Dharma samstapanataya, right? Because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Paritranaya sarunam vinashaya chiduskritam dharma samstapanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. So he says, I come age after age and to instruct people on dharma, to protect the devotees and to destroy the miscreants. Actually, he's protecting the devotees and destroying the miscreants by spreading dharma. When he spreads dharma and he gives this transcendental knowledge, he's actually protecting those people who want to be his servants, who are his servants, but who want to realize that and to want to serve him. And also the people who don't want to serve him, he's destroying that mentality in them by preaching to them this transcendental knowledge. So really, his purpose for coming to this world is dharma samstapanataya, to establish dharma, to explain to people how to come back to his eternal service. So let's go back and let's start the next sutra, Sutra 7. And anybody who has a question or a comment as we go along, you can unmute and do that. So number 7, knowledge arising from all the Shastras is like wealth earned by oneself. Knowledge arising from all the Shastras is like wealth earned by oneself. Knowledge arising from the Thira Mantra is like inherited wealth. Okay, so there's different types of wealth. Here, what were the questions that were asked just before this? So we wanted to know, right, is it necessary? Is it necessary or required to get knowledge in this way by becoming a shishya, by becoming a student or a disciple and learning the mantra from an acharya, right? Is that necessary? Aren't the Shastras, the arts of knowledge, always also ways of acquiring learning? Why can't we just get a book and we can just read the book and the book tells us that the Astakshara Mantra is great and all the things about the Astakshara Mantra? Why do we actually have to become serious students? Is there a difference? When one studies them, isn't knowledge gained by this method? Knowledge is certainly gained by just reading. By just reading Shastras, knowledge is certainly gained. Why then do we actually have to become a shishya or a disciple of an acharya? Using an analogy, he reveals the difference between knowledge gained from Shastras, in other words, just book learning, and knowledge arising from this mantra, from getting the mantra from an acharya, from going to an acharya and attaining the mantra from the acharya. So he says here in this, to answer this, he gives an analogy. He says there's two types of wealth. There's one type of wealth, and we're all familiar with this, that we go and we work and we make some money, we make some wealth. We earn wealth by our actions. So we're aware of that. There's another type of wealth that you get an inheritance. You didn't do anything, but somehow or other, one day, somebody says, you have this inherited wealth. Now, there's a very interesting story about this. When Yamunacharya actually, as a little boy, he won a contest where he was debating with a pundit in the king's court. Some people may know this story. Okay, and there was a bet between the king and the queen, and the queen said that if this young boy defeats my pundit, I will give him half my kingdom. So Yamunacharya actually defeated the Pandit. I'm just going to make it short. He defeated the Pandit and he was given half the kingdom. So he became like a prince, almost like a king himself, because when he was a young boy, because of this incident. So later on, his guru brought him to Sri Rangam by telling him that he had inherited wealth. There was inherited wealth, right? Because Yamunacharya's grandfather is Nathamuni. His actual grandfather was Nathamuni, and Nathamuni was in the Parampara, and Nathamuni through the Parampara had given the Thira Mantra, of course. The Parampara is how we receive the mantra, and so Yamunacharya's guru told him that he had received it from his guru and he had received it from Nathamuni, so that this was an inherited wealth, that this Thira Mantra, or actually that the Lord in Sri Rangam was the inherited wealth. But he sort of tricked him in a way, because he told Yamunacharya, first of all, he said, you have a treasure. Your grandfather, meaning Nathamuni, right, has left you a great inheritance, a great treasure. So imagine that somebody comes to you and says, you won the lottery, or your grandfather left you a big inheritance. Wow, you'd be very happy. So he told Yamunacharya that you have this inheritance of this great wealth, right? But it is situated on an island, right? It's very difficult to get this wealth because it's situated on an island surrounded by a river, right? Like a moat. It's guarded by a rakshasa, by a demon, and it's guarded by a demon. Well, there were some other things about it too, and it's only obtainable through a secret password, right? So the secret password, of course, was the Astakshara mantra. The treasure was actually Lord Ranganatha, the Supreme Lord. So this is the treasure, right? So if you want to attain this treasure, you can do it by just reading the Shastras. This is what they're saying. It's basically, we're talking about Jnana Yoga here. Okay, so if we just sit down and we read the Shastras and we read everything like that, and we put in a lot of hard effort to try and understand, right? Then we create our own wealth. Knowledge arising from the Thira Mantra, from being bestowed from the Guru Parampara. So it's sort of like ascending and descending. If we want to gain spiritual knowledge, we can do it by hard labor, by ascending process, or we can simply have it bestowed upon us through the Parampara system, right? Descending. Knowledge arising from the Thira Mantra, which is just being given to us for free through the Guru Parampara. Basically, the Lord is bestowing upon us the Thira Mantra, right? Is like inherited wealth. So in the Indian context, in the context of Indian culture, inherited wealth is considered better wealth than wealth arising from hard work. So I think many people would agree, right? If you didn't have to work, if you're rich, there's two types of people, right? You have, I think it's common to call the nouveau riche. It's a common expression in English. It means that there are people who are newly wealthy, meaning the people who actually worked and they were very poor when they were born, or they were born into lower circumstances, and they made their money by their effort, like that. And then you have the old wealthy people, the people who come in these aristocratic families or something, who have the wealth passed down to them by inherited wealth. So if we think about it, we're all actually heirs to the greatest wealth. We do have that wealth just waiting to be given and bestowed upon us. But we have to let that. We have to allow the Acharya to give us that wealth. We have to allow the Supreme Lord to bestow upon us that inherited wealth. So the process of Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga is like working towards your credits to go back to Godhead, to go to Vaikuntha, to go to Moksha, right? You're working very hard through these efforts to attain liberation, which again is the Supreme, is service to the Supreme, eternal service to the Supreme Lord. Whereas property is like having it bestowed upon you. It's like inherited wealth. So here again, in this analogy, right, the idea is, yes, you can just read the Shastras, but if you actually do property, if you actually become a shishya, become a student of an acharya coming in the Guru Parampara to get the Thira Mantra, it's just bestowed upon you. It's like inherited wealth. So this is the analogy being given. So there's two types of wealth. There's wealth that you work hard for, and there's wealth which is inherited. Knowledge arising in the Chaitana. Chaitana means, again, sentient being, a sentient person, right? In the Chaitana, in the Jiva, right, we can say, the spirit soul. From all Shastras, teaching knowledge of reality, that is Shruti, the Vedas, Shmriti, the Itihasas, Puranas, etc., right, is like wealth that one earns by oneself, right? We have to actually read these things, or we have to hear them from somebody, right? And we have to listen, we have to try to understand them, right? That is, it can be obtained only by strenuous effort, right? So we actually have to listen to a class, or we have to actually read a book, or whatever it is. But knowledge that arises from the Thira Mantra, and the mantra, Thira Mantra, Om Namo Naraina, is non-different from the Lord. And therefore, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, all knowledge comes from him, and the Super Soul is there as Chaitya Guru, and he is going to give that knowledge. Through the Acharya's teaching is without effort, right? But knowledge that arises from the Thira Mantra, through the Acharya's teaching, the Acharya teaches the Thira Mantra, right? That knowledge comes without effort. It is like knowledge which is it's like inherited wealth. As it is said, and here's another quotation to explain about that. Shastric knowledge, which is very difficult, is the cause of mental vacillations, right? So in order to understand the Shastras, sometimes we have to think very deeply, and we have to go through, what's the meaning of this verse? What's the meaning of what is this? What is God trying to tell us, or what is the great Acharya trying to tell us in these explanations or commentaries? So we have to think very deeply. After realizing Hari by means of instruction, one should retire from action. This is also even the action of Shastric knowledge is not necessary. If we take to the Thira Mantra, if we take initiation in the Thira Mantra, we'll understand from the mantra itself. We should understand the realization of all the knowledge of the Shastras, right? In fact, this is stated in the Naraina Upanishad. In the Naraina Upanishad, right? You don't have to know this, but just in case you do know this, in the Naraina Upanishad, it says by chanting this Astakshara mantra, one attains Vaikuntha. Om Namo Naraina iti mantropasakaha, the person who worships this mantra, meaning who chants it and also understands the meaning of it, right? Vaikuntha bhuvana lokam gamishati, he'll go to Vaikuntha, like that. And what does it also say in that Naraina Upanishad? It says that this teaching, this understanding here of the Astakshara mantra, is equal to the Rig Veda, the Yajurveda, the Sama Veda, the Atharva Veda. So you don't have to read all those Vedas. All you need is the Astakshara mantra, Om Namo Naraina, according to the Naraina Upanishad. So, thus, it has been stated that the Thira Mantra, which is a summary of the Shastras, is greater than the Shastras themselves. It's greater than the Shastras themselves. Okay, so we could read all the Shastras. We could study all the different what are they called? Saddarshanas, the 6 different schools of philosophy, and we could study all the different types of Shastra. The Shastras are all broken down into different fields of study. So we have Vyakarna, Nirukta, Chanda, Jyotish, Kalpa, right? There's one more, six branches. Vyakarna, Nirukta, Chanda, Jyotish, Kalpa, and one more. I forget what it is right now. Anyway, okay, so these are all different branches of knowledge. We could study all the different branches of knowledge. That's the point. Or we could simply just become a student and approach an acharya and receive the Thira Mantra from the Supreme Lord through the acharya. And from that, we get all knowledge. That may be so, but let us leave aside the Shastras. Okay, so let us leave aside the Shastras. Here, Manavala Mamuni in his commentary, what he's doing is posing different questions and explaining why Pilalokacharya is giving the different sutras. So the sutras are there, and in between the sutras is the commentary of Manavala Mamuni explaining the sutras. And the sutras are making certain proposals, but he's asking the questions in between, which the person which the next sutra is going to answer. So here he says that may be so. Whatever we just said may be so, but leaving aside the Shastras, leaving aside the scriptures, this is not the only mantra relating to the Lord. The Thira Mantra is not the only, right? There's Hare Krishna Mantra, there's the Ram Mantra, Ram Taraka Mantra, there's the Astadas Akshara Mantra, there's the Gopal Mantra, there's the 12-syllable mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, there's another mantra, the 6-syllable mantra, which is Om Namo Vishnave. So we can say there's many mantras. Even if we put aside all the mantras for the devatas, like Ganesh and Shiva and Durga, right? If we just look at mantras for the Supreme Lord, there are so many of these mantras. So aren't there many more besides this one, this Om Namo Naraina mantra? So what's so important about this one? What's so important about this particular mantra, Om Namo Naraina? Right? So now we're moving on and we're saying, okay, so we understand that we don't have to study all the scriptures. We understand that we simply have to take this Astakshara mantra. By the way, this is called Astakshara Prakaranam. This is about this whole section, this 1/3 of Mumuksupadi is about. Mumuksupadi is about these three mantras. So 1/3 of Mumuksupadi is about this Astakshara mantra. So why is it so important? Because there's other mantras. There are other mantras, even other mantras relating to the Lord. With the intention to explain the excellence of this mantra compared to other mantras, he answers this doubt. Pilalokacharya is going to answer this doubt. So before we get the answer to the doubt, let's also look at what P.B. Anangacharya is saying about the Seventh Sutra. Right. So once again, what was the Seventh Sutra? The knowledge gained by a person through Shastras, such as Shrutis and Smritis, is like wealth gained by him after much effort. Whereas the knowledge gained by a person through the Thira Mantra Upadesham. Upadesham means teaching. Upadesham means teaching. Mantra Upadesham, Diksha or initiation is sometimes called Mantra Upadesham. The Guru teaches the mantra. He also teaches the meaning of the mantra. He teaches the lineage of the mantra. He teaches the mantra in all its aspects. The Thira Mantra Upadesham, by an acharya or a teacher, is easily obtainable like wealth inherited from his forefathers. It's like inherited wealth. Okay. So the Sarita Dipika commentary by P.B. Anangacharya, a question might arise that are there not several Shastras that he himself has provided to this world? Right. So he's provided many Shastras, right? The Lord has provided many Shastras. In those Shastras, there's different mantras, right? Why should a person not study these works, gather the knowledge held within? Are they not the way to reach him? Why would one have to try to reach him through the recitation, I would say recitation, and also the meditation on the meaning of the Thira Mantra. The fact that the knowledge gained from Thira Mantra is better than that gained from Shastras is shown here through the use of an example. A person works hard and gathers wealth. Another gains wealth without any effort by inheriting it from his forefathers. While both enjoy the wealth, since one person struggled to obtain his wealth, it is tinged with some pain. Right? Hard-earned money. When we go out and we work, we all know that experience of going out. Well, maybe not all of us. If you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, okay, maybe you don't know what it's like to go out and earn a living. But most people in this world know how to go out. Even rich people, they go out and they sometimes expend a lot of effort to earn more wealth. Whereas, so that involves some pain. You have to definitely put aside what you would want to do if you had enough. If you were independently wealthy, you could put aside all those things and you could just do whatever you wanted to do. But you have to incur some pain to make that money. Whereas another person got his wealth easily and therefore enjoys it more. Similarly, I don't know if I exactly agree with this. Enjoys it more. Some people enjoy the fact that they actually made the money themselves more than if it would just come by inheritance. But I understand his point that wealth that is earned by hard work is tinged with that pain. I understand that. Similarly, the wealth of knowledge obtained through the Thira Mantra by the grace of an acharya or guru will be most pleasing. Okay, so that's his point. So let's go back and let's look at Sutra number 8 here. So the Lord's mantras indeed are many, right? There are many Vishnu mantras, many Naraina mantras, Krishna mantras, Rama mantras, Narasimha mantras. Let the number of your births precipitated by a flood of your qualities be as innumerable as those qualities. That the number of your births precipitated by a flood. This is a quote from somewhere. We'd have to look at the end to see exactly where all these quotes from. Many, O king, are the auspicious qualities of your son. Of your endless qualities, just 6 are your primary qualities. That's a discussion about the qualities of the Lord: Jnana, Bala, Kriya, Yoga, Aishwarya, Shakti, Tejas. These are the main qualities of Bhagwa. 6 qualities. O Arjuna, many births have passed for me. This is a quotation from Bhagavad Gita, as well as for you. He is the one eternal, immeasurable fame, of immeasurable fame and qualities. You have been born in all kinds of wombs. So these are all quotations from different shastras. And so what does he say about that? As stated in such passages as this, the Lord's qualities, as well as his avatars, which are expressions of his qualities, right? So they are the guna parivaha rupa. Guna parivaha rupa. Rupa means form. Guna parivaha means expression, the form of the expression of his qualities, right? So we might, for instance, we look at Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna's leelas are very sweet. You know, Lord Narasimha, nobody would say if you want to meditate upon a sweet form of the Lord that you meditate upon Lord Narasimha. He's an angry form, or sometimes he's pacified in different forms. He has different forms, of course, but normally we think of Narasimha as being more angry and Krishna being more lovable. You know, Rama being more steadfast, being more stoic. So there are these. The Lord has unlimited ananta kalyana gunas, right? His gunas, his qualities are kalyana, auspicious, and they are ananta, they are infinite. So he has infinite auspicious qualities, the Lord. So according to the different qualities that he wants to show, he incarnates and he shows different leelas. So these are avatars that he comes as, are expressing his different qualities. So in the same way, there are unlimited mantras also, which represent those forms of the Lord, which are connected with these, right? The avatars, right? Are also many. As it is said, the Lord's mantras are many. But are all these mantras in the same category? To this he says, and then we're going to go on to the next one, right? So okay, so now we're saying there's all these forms of the Lord, because why are there different forms of the Lord? The Lord can have unlimited forms because he has unlimited qualities. So in each one of these forms, all of the qualities are manifest, but some are more specifically manifest than others, right? So this is part of in Pancharatra. In Pancharatra, we have the system of vyuhas: Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. Okay, so Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha are expansions from Vasudeva. Paravasudeva is the original form of God, and from him, this is the doctrine in Pancharatra, and therefore Paravasudeva exhibits these 6 qualities. As I said, there's unlimited qualities, but there are these 6 main qualities, and he exhibits these 6 qualities in full. Whereas Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, they have also got unlimited qualities. They've also got those 6 main qualities, but they exhibit 2 of them each, more than the others, right? So then we have, even beyond Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, we have from Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, we have Upavyuhas. We have Keshava to Damodar. We have Keshava, Naraina, Madhava, Govinda, Vishnu, Madhusudana, Trivikrama, Vamana, Sridhara, Rishis, Padmanabha, Damodara. We have these other 12 forms of Vishnu, right? These are also expansions, again, from the first Vyuha, from this first set of 4. And each one of these forms, what to speak of the different other avatars like Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, these Das avatars, Narasimha, Vamana, Parasurama, Rama, Balarama, Krishna, Kalki. What to speak of the 10 avatars? There are so many avatars. So each one of the avatars, they're having mantras. The mantras are non-different from the avatars. Each avatar comes to show us a specific aspect of the Lord's qualities, his auspicious qualities. And so there are these mantras also for each one of these deities. Right. So the question at the end of that sutra is just telling us that he has all these qualities and he has all these avatars, and that each avatar is going to have a mantra, and the mantras are all there. These are all different mantras for the Lord. So somebody might be confused. They might go, "Oh, okay. There's all these different mantras. So does it make any difference if I concentrate on this mantra, if I understand this mantra or that mantra?" Because I'm interested in the mantra for Narasimha, I'm interested in the mantra for Rama, I'm interested in the mantra for Krishna. Are all these mantras in the same category? They're all in the same category. They're all in the same category. They're all mantras of the Lord. But what exactly? How do we distinguish between these different mantras? Is there any distinguishing qualities between these different mantras? Right. So what does P.B. and Angacharya say about this? So, again, what is a sutra? The mantras that speak of the endless, the unlimited, kalyana, auspicious gunas, qualities of the Lord, and the avatars that come from those auspicious qualities, right? That exemplify these qualities are limitless. They're unlimited. There are unlimited Vishnu mantras. So if somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, can you give me a mantra for worshiping the Lord, the Supreme Lord, Sriman Naraina?" I'll say, "Sure, I've got it. There's unlimited mantras. What mantra do you want?" So what does he say here in the purport? Let us accept for a moment that the knowledge obtained from the Shastras is a tiring effort. Okay, so let's forget about that argument that we should go and study all the scriptures. We definitely want to get the inherited wealth. What is the inherited wealth? The inherited wealth comes to us from our forefathers. Who are our forefathers? Our forefathers are the Guru Parampara, starting with Srimad Naraina. The Supreme Lord Krishna, Srimad Naraina, he is the beginning of the Guru Parampara. He is our ancestor. He is the origin of our lineage, right? So we get that wealth from him. We get it through our forefathers, right? Our forefathers are the Guru Parampara, the different acharyas, the different teachers in their lineage. So we just want to inherit that wealth. We don't want to spend our time reading all the scriptures and studying all the scriptures or trying to figure out all these things. It's too much effort, right? We would rather get the inherited wealth. The inherited wealth is got by simply going to our Father and saying, "Give me my inheritance." The Father is the Guru. The inheritance is the Astakshara Mantra. The Astakshara Mantra is the Supreme Lord, is non-different from the Supreme Lord. And by understanding the Astakshara Mantra, we can understand the Lord. So that's our inheritance. So that is easy. So forget about studying the scriptures. We've already given up that idea of Jnana Yoga, or even of difficult efforts through Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga. Let's give up the idea of these tiring efforts and let's just go get our inheritance. So, however, it's not true that is it not true that there are several mantras? Yeah. Why does one have to use the Thira Astakshara mantra alone? What's so important about this mantra? The one that we're talking about here. There's so many, right? Hare Krishna mantra's there. Gopal mantra's there. Narasimha mantra's there. Rama mantra's there. And you can find plenty of scriptures that say, oh, this mantra is the best, that mantra is the best, or that mantra is more important, right? Or we might have our own, we might have our own mantra that we like better than the other one. Oh, I like Narasimha, I like Krishna, I like, Rama, right? I want to chant only Rama mantras. I only want to chant Krishna mantras. I only want to chant Hare Krishna. So why should we go for this Thira Astakshara mantra? What's important about it? To answer that, Sri Pillai Lokacharya begins to point out, first of all, that there are countless mantras. Okay, first of all, we have to understand there are a lot of mantras out there. They're all worship of the Supreme Lord. We're not talking about demigod mantras. We're not talking about mantras for other things, right? We're talking about mantras that are all Vaishnava mantras for Vishnu. Then in the next several sutras, he will break the mantras up into two groups, the Vishnu mantras, and show that we are not interested in the first group and that the Thira mantra has a special and high status amongst the mantras in the second group. Okay, so first of all, he's going to break it into two groups. And second of all, amongst the second group, he's going to say, amongst that, the Thira mantra has actually a supreme position. Srimad Narayana's Kalyana Gunas are endless. His auspicious qualities are limitless. The avatars that bring around, the descending forms of the Lord, that bring out those Kalyana Gunas or auspicious qualities are also endless, right? The avatars are also endless because the qualities are endless, and therefore he comes in endless types of avatars. Similarly, the mantras that speak of the Kalyana Gunas are also endless. The mantras that speak of his unlimited qualities, his unlimited auspicious qualities, are also endless. And so the mantras that speak of his avatars are also endless. So as there is no limit to his qualities, his unlimited auspicious qualities, no limit to his avatars, there's also no limit to the mantras that speak of them. For every form of the Lord, there's a mantra. For every quality that the Lord has, there's a mantra. Since he has unlimited forms and unlimited qualities, there's unlimited mantras. Okay, so let's have a look at the next sutra number 9. I think it's very, very clear. Anyway, so sutra number 9 is first of all going to divide the mantras into two groups, right? These mantras are of two kinds, the Vyapaka and the Avyapaka. Now in Sanskrit, when you get a word and you put A in front of it, or sometimes an. If the word begins with an A, so you put an, or if it begins with a vowel, you put an. But if it begins with a consonant, like here, vyapaka, if you put a in front of it, avyapaka, it means the opposite of vyapaka. So what does vyapaka mean, and what does avyapaka mean? The two categories of mantras are vyapaka mantras, which explain the Lord's true nature as the one who pervades all. Sarva vyapaka. Sarva vyapaka. Vyapaka means to pervade. Sarva means everything. He pervades everything, right? Pervades everything. And now I think we've discussed it before, that pervasion can be from inside, it could also be from outside, right? So if you can have something which is completely pervaded from the inside, but also something which is pervaded from the outside. But anyway, we'll talk about that maybe a little bit later. So sarva vyapaka, just understand, it means he's pervading everything. He's pervading everything, all pervasive. He's omnipresent everywhere. So, and avyapaka mantras, which explain just one of the qualities or activities pertaining to his avatars, maybe only one avatar, right? But not his all-pervasiveness. So there are mantras, right? There are mantras which speak about a particular quality or set of qualities, but not all qualities, or a particular avatar, but not all avatars, or the particular nature of a particular avatar in certain leelas, but not his all-pervasiveness. What is the difference between God? What is the main difference? Remember, we talked about the word lakshana. Lakshana means the quality. It means qualities. It can also mean qualifications if you're talking about the qualifications of a guru or the qualifications of a student, teacher or student, right? It can mean, lakshana, again, I'll give the example. Lakshana is literally a defining quality, So in Sanskrit, for instance, if we have an elephant and a horse, both of them have 4 feet. So if I say there's an animal outside that has 4 feet, you don't know if it's a cow, an elephant, or a horse. It could be another animal with 4 feet. There's many animals that have 4 feet. So if I just say there's an animal with 4 feet outside, you don't know what it is. But if I say there's an animal with a trunk outside, can't be a cow doesn't have a trunk. Can't be a horse doesn't have a trunk. Only the elephant has a trunk. So that is the lakshana of an elephant. The quality of an elephant is it has a trunk. The defining quality. Elephant also has 4 legs. That's a quality of an elephant. Elephant has that quality. But what is the quality which only that elephant has? Only an elephant has, and that is a trunk. Okay, so in Sanskrit, the real meaning of quality is defining quality, or lakshana, is the thing which distinguishes it from another thing. So how do we distinguish between mantras? There are some mantras, right, which talk about 1 or 2 qualities. There are some mantras which talk about 1 or 2 avatars. There are some mantras which explain all avatars, all qualities. Those mantras deal with the all-pervasiveness of the Lord. The Lord is different from the other living beings because the Lord can be present everywhere, is present, not can be. He is present everywhere. He is pervading everything from inside and from outside. He's within every atom, but he's also outside of everything. He's the whole, right? So the word vyapaka means pervasive. He's all pervasive. There is no other being. There is no other being which is all pervasive. So the Supreme Lord, being all pervasive, that is his main quality that distinguishes him from the jiva, from the soul. The jiva, again, the difference between the jiva and the Lord is like a big fire, and the jiva is like a tiny spark. Or some people say a sun ray and the sun globe. The sun is everything, and the sun ray is only just a little fraction of it, tiny fraction. So the soul is very small. The soul is very small, and like a spark. and fire is huge. Like that. So all pervasive. So the Lord is all pervasive. The Lord's all pervasive. Okay, in Sanskrit there are two words, Vibhu and Anu. Vibhu means all pervasive. He's big. Vibhu means huge, bigger than the biggest. And Anu means small. And sometimes we read things in scriptures like the soul is 1/10,000th the size of the tip of the hair. Just to, it's not, it's just an analogy, an idea that the soul is infinitesimal. Infinite. The difference between infinite, we're not even close to God. We're not even close to being God. There's no way in this sense. We are no way in any way Vyapaka. We are no way can we pervade everything. He is infinite, and we are the opposite to that, infinitesimal. Infinitesimal is tiny as you can imagine, and infinite is as big as you can imagine, right? There's many things in between, but there's many stages or ideas in between, right? But the Lord is infinite and we're infinitesimal. Okay, so his infinity, that is what sets him apart from us. That's what sets him apart from us. And even here, we're talking in terms of mantras that represent different forms of Vishnu, right? Or different forms of Krishna. There are Vyapaka and Avyapaka mantras. So there are mantras which explain his infinite nature. And there are other mantras which talk about particular aspects of his nature. Like, for instance, the word Krishna. Krishna is a name of the Lord, no doubt. Okay, it means he's all attractive. So attractiveness is a quality. But there are also other people who are attractive, right? There are other people who are attractive, right? Somebody may say, well, why? I mean, he's all attractive, all pervasive. These are the same. These are just the same sort of qualities, right? I mean, what's the difference? God is all attractive. He's also all pervasive, right? The difference is other people. You can't be a little bit all pervasive. You can't be a little bit all pervasive. That's the difference. You can't be a little bit all pervasive. The jiva is infinitesimal. It's always infinitesimal. There's only infinitesimal and infinite. Whereas as far as attractiveness, there's somebody who's this attractive. There's a little bit more attractive. They're a little bit more attractive. They're a little bit more attractive, and there's the infinitely attractive Krishna. So attractiveness, there can be a scale like that. Infiniteness, there's no scale. You can't be a little bit infinite. You're either infinite or you're not infinite. The thing is, you're either infinite or you're infinitesimal. There's nowhere in between. There's the soul, which is infinitesimal, and there's God, who's infinite. So in this sense, it's a different type of quality. Vyapaka. Sarva Vyapakaness is a different type of quality because nobody even comes close. Nobody even comes close to being like that. So this is the number one defining quality of God. The number one defining quality of God is Vyapaka, or all pervasiveness. Yeah? So there are some mantras which explain about Vyapaka, about being all pervasive. And there are other mantras which emphasize other qualities. Rama means, Ram means to give pleasure, right? Ramyate means to give pleasure. So he gives pleasure, right? Krishna means all attractive, right? So these things, there can be gradations, but there can be no gradation of infiniteness. You're either infinite or you're not infinite. You're either infinite or you're infinitesimal. So, okay, so there's these two divisions of mantras, Vyapaka and Avyapaka. Okay, pervasive and non-pervasive, we can say, which explain just one of the qualities. The Avyapakas explain just one of the qualities or activities pertaining to his avatars, but not his all-pervasiveness. Right? I think that's clear. Then the question is, okay, so you've got these, you've divided the two into. Still, somebody may say, okay, Krishna's all attractive, okay, and the word Naraina is about, it has to do with has to do with all pervasiveness, but still they're both forms of God. So why wouldn't these qualities, even though you've defined them in two different groups, you put them in two different groups, these mantras, right? Still, though you put them in two different groups, what's the difference? Aren't these forms equivalent? Aren't these mantras equivalent? Aren't these qualities equivalent? No, I just explained how they're not equivalent, how the qualities were not equivalent. So just as the qualities are not equivalent, the forms are not equivalent, and the mantras are also not equivalent. The forms, of course, are equivalent in a certain way. We say that the Supreme Lord Srimad Narayana and Krishna are both God. So we're not distinguishing. There may be some Vaishnavas who distinguish between different forms of God, like that. We're not distinguishing in that sense. All these forms of God, Rama, Krishna, Narasimha, Varaha, Srimad Narayana, they're all the Supreme Person. Just as I mentioned that there's Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, there's Keshava, Narayana, Madhava, God. There's so many different forms, and each one of them will show a particular will show a particular one or more or set of qualities, right? Whereas Srimad Narayana embodies all of those qualities and actually manifests all of those qualities. So let's see what P.B. Anangacharya, how he puts it. So, Sutra number 9. Again, what are we talking about here? The meaning of the sutra is, these mantras are of two kinds. Those that speak of the Lord in his limitless and all-pervading form are called Vyapaka mantras. Those who speak of his avatars, right, his expansions, some of his limitless qualities, gunas, right, and some of his leelas, right, are known as avyapaka mantras. So there's the definition. The commentary given here by P.B. Anangacharya says, the mantras that speak of the Lord are not all of the same kind. They're broken up to as Vyapaka and Avyapaka mantras. Those who show that the Lord's form are all-pervading are grouped as Vyapaka mantras. Those that speak of one or more of his avatars, his gunas, or his leelas, right, his qualities or his actions, his activities, are grouped as Avyapaka mantras. Okay, so I think we're really clear. We understand the difference. So let's go back and see what the 10th Sutra has to say. The 10th Sutra says, there are the 3 Vyapaka mantras. Okay, so first off, we're beginning to understand that there are unlimited mantras of the Lord, but there are only 3 in the category of Vyapaka. 3 mantras. And there are others, all the others are in the category of Avyapaka, according to Hilalokacharya, according to his definition. Right? So there are 3 Vyapaka mantras, and those 3 Vyapaka mantras are better than those which are Avyapaka. Okay, so why does he say this? We're going to get into that. Better than all the Avyapaka mantras are the 3 Vyapaka mantras, which are cited in the Vishnu Gayatri. Now, what's the Vishnu Gayatri? Narayanaya vidmahe, Vasudevaya dhimahi, Tanno Vishnu prachodayat. Right? This is the regular system of when we talk about Gayatri. Gayatri is in a particular form. The Gayatri mantras. What does the word Gayatri mean? Gaya means to sing. Tri means 3 times. So normally we chant any mantra 3 times a day. It's called Gayatri. Another meaning of Gayatri is there's a particular meter. In Sanskrit, it means that there are 8 syllables in each part of it, and there are 3 parts of 8 syllables. So 3 times 8, 24 syllables total, divided into 8, 8, and 8. 3 parts. So Narayanaya vidmahe. Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tanno Vishnu Prachodayat. These are 8, 8, and 8. So specifically, they're all modeled after the original Gayatri Mantra. They have this Gayatri Mantra, Savitri Gayatri in the Veda. Tat Savitu Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. So the word Vidmahe, Dhimahi, and Prachodayat are used in Gayatri Mantras. So such and such Vidmahe, right? Such and such Dhimahi, such and such Prachodayat, which means may we Vidmahe, understand. May we understand Narayana, right? Narayanaya Vidmahe. May we meditate. Dhimahi means to meditate. May we meditate on Vasudeva, right? Vasudevaya Dhimahi. Tanno Vishnu Prachodayat, right? May Vishnu inspire us, inspire that meditation in us. Not only so we should understand Lord Narayana, we should meditate upon him, and may he inspire us to meditate more and more upon him. Okay, so this is the meaning of the Vishnu Gayatri Mantra. And this Vishnu Gayatri Mantra, we could also call it Naraina Gayatri Mantra. Here she's called it Vishnu Gayatri Mantra. It can also be called Naraina Gayatri Mantra. Somebody could also call it Vasudeva Gayatri Mantra because the word Vasudeva is also used there. The word Vasudeva also means Vishnu, right? So, okay, so the words, there are 3 names of Vishnu that come in this mantra. Narayana, Narayanaya, right? It's dative case, singular, Narayanaya. Vasudeva, Vasudevaya, again dative case, singular. And Vishnu is nominative case of Vishnu Prachodaya, right? Or it could be Sambodhana Pratama. Anyway, Pratama Vibhakti. So Vishnu. So Narayana, Vasudeva, and Vishnu are the 3 names that come in this mantra. So the 3 Vyapaka mantras are given, in a sense, the names which inspire the 3 Vyapaka mantras are given in this one mantra, the Vishnu Gayatri or Vasudeva Gayatri or Narayana Gayatri. Let's say Narayana Gayatri. The words Narayana, Vasudeva, and Vishnu in the Vishnu mantra are the 3 primary names of the 3 mantras based on each. There are 3 mantras. There's one mantra based on each one of these names. Therefore, this Vishnu Gayatri suggests the 3 mantras that are formed by simply joining together the name with the pranava. The pranava means omkara, the syllable om, which is transcendental syllable om, which is the essence of the Vedas, and which we're also going to understand exactly what the meaning of om is later on. So we won't get into that now. So om, and also the word namaha. Namaha means not me, or it means obeisance to you. When I say not me, it means to you. Obeisance to you is understood. So namaha. So when we take om and namaha and we add them to these words, right? Narayana, Vasudeva, and Vishnu, we get 3 mantras. All the 3 mantras are equal. That's the next question. The next question is, are all these 3 Vyapaka mantras equal? So we're not talking about the Avyapaka mantras right now. They're not talking about the ones that only deal with particular qualities, particular leelas, and particular forms of the Lord. But we're talking about the Avyapaka mantras, of which Pilalakacharya has said there are 3. And the 3 are based upon these 3 names of God, 3 primary names of God, right? Narayana, Vasudeva, and Vishnu, which come all together in a mantra called Narayana Gayatri, which comes in Taittiriya Aranyaka in the Taittiriya Upanishad, in the 4th section of Taittiriya Upanishad, which is called the Yajnika Upanishad, or it's also called the Mahanarayana Upanishad. In that Upanishad, there's a list of several Gayatri mantras, and that Gayatri mantra comes in there. So, in case you wanted to know where it comes from. Narayanaya Vidmahe, Vasudevaya Dhimahi, Tanno Vishnu Prachodayat. Okay. So, the question at the end of this discussion here is, are all the three Vyapaka mantras equal? Right? And he'll answer this in a minute. But let's see what P.B. Anangacharya says. So again, the 10th sutra, once again, the Vyapaka mantras are considered higher or greater or more spiritual than the Avyapaka mantras. And the three Vyapaka mantras, Astakshari, Dwadasakshari, and Sadakshari, right, that contain Naraina, Vasudeva, and Vishnu's names, are considered the highest amongst the Vyapaka mantras. Okay, so here, the translation given here suggests that there might be other Vyapaka mantras, whereas the translation that we had before by Pila Lokacharya, but in the other thing, suggests that there are only three Vyapaka mantras. So I don't think that there are any other mantras, but these are the three Vyapaka mantras. So, but who knows? Maybe somebody will come up. Maybe somebody will say something else somewhere. Maybe one of our teachers can tell us if there's a possibility that there could be other Vyapaka mantras. But according to this delineation, where these three are the only Vyapaka mantras so far. So he mentions them here in his translation. Here he says that Astakshari is Om Namo Narayanaya. It means there are 8 syllables. Om Namo Narayanaya. Right? Then Dwadasakshari means 12 syllables. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Right? 12 syllables. Right? And Sadakshari, Om Namo Vishnave. 6 syllables. Right? So these are the 3 mantras. In the purport, he says here, in the previous sutra, the mantras describing the Lord were separated into 2 groups. Of these 2 groups, the Vyapaka are considered higher than the Avyapaka mantras. Even amongst Vyapaka mantras, these 3 mantras are considered as very important. The Vishnu Gayatri, as well as, is well known. So maybe somebody else may consider even Vishnu Gayatri as a Vyapaka mantra because it has these 3 Vyapaka names in it, right? So maybe it's a Vyapaka mantra also. But amongst the Vyapaka mantras, these 3 are most important: the Astakshari, Dwadasakshari, and the Sadakshari, the 8-syllable, the 12-syllable, and the 6-syllable. The Vishnu Gayatri is well known. Naraina Vidmahe Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tanno Vishnu Prachodayat. In this mantra, 3 names of God, 3 names of the Lord are used: Naraina, Vasudeva, and Vishnu. These 3 speak of the all-pervasiveness. These names, they specifically speak of the all-pervasiveness of the Lord. These, and as such, are Vyapaka mantras. The 3 mantras are special amongst Vyapaka mantras and are higher than the Avyapaka mantras. These 3 names. So how can we call them mantras? They are namas. They are names, but they are the inner meaning of their associated mantras. As also by adding the words Om and Namaha and the Chaturthi Vibhakti Aya, which means the dative case, the singular dative case ending is Aya in Sanskrit. So Narayanaya, Vasudevaya, even Vishnave is dative singular of Vishnu, right? So Om Namo Vishnave, right? Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, right? To them, if we add Om and Namaha and the dative case, we get these mantras, right? In case of the 12th mantra, 12-syllable mantra, we also add this word Bhagawan in the dative case, Bhagavate, right? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. These are 3 names of Vishnu of the Vishnu Gayatri mantra are equivalent to the 3 Vyapaka mantras. Okay, so let's go back. See the next verse. So, Sutra number 11. Sutra 11 is, the great Thira Mantra is the most important among all these 3. Right, so he's making a declaration here. Hilalokacharya is saying, okay, so out of these 3, Om Namo Vishnave, 6-syllable mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, 12-syllable mantra. And Om Namo Narayanaya, 8-syllable mantra. The 8-syllable mantra Om Namo Narayana is the most important out of all those. So out of all Vyapaka mantras, there are three which are most important. And out of those three, the most important of them is the Thira Mantra, Om Namo Narayana. Now we have to understand why. If you consider all these three Vyapaka mantras, which are better than all the Avyapaka mantras, the Thira Mantra is the most important. It is the first mentioned in the Vishnu Gayatri. Okay, so there's a rule in Sanskrit. Sometimes there's a rule that you mention the most important thing first. So, Narayanaya Vidmahe Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tanno Vishnu Prachodayat. So first of all, you mention Narayana. Next, you mention Vasudeva. Third, you mention Vishnu. Right. The names come like that. So it is the first mention in the Vishnu Gayatri or the Narayana Gayatri saying Narayanaya Vidmahe. Furthermore, its meaning is complete. Its meaning is complete. So we understand, we'll understand that the other meanings are incomplete, right? Now, the reason for that is that Vishnu means all pervasive, but it means pervading from inside, right? When we talk about the Lord is in every atom, he's in your heart, he's in every atom, he pervades from within, he pervades the whole universe. Then we call him Vishnu. That person who pervades from within is called Vishnu, right? But we know that the Lord not only pervades from inside, he also pervades from outside. So when he pervades from outside, when we're talking about the Lord who pervades from outside, as opposed to just is pervading from inside, we call him Vasudeva. Vasudeva pervades from outside. So if I want to say the Lord who pervades from outside, I'll say Vasudeva. If I want to say the Lord who pervades from inside, I say Vishnu. If I want to say the Lord who pervades from inside, but also pervades from outside, and I want to emphasize both, I say Naraina. Naraina, the word Naraina means that person who pervades from inside and from outside. So that's why he's saying here that the meanings of the other words, Vasudeva and Vishnu, are incomplete. Because the meaning of the word Vishnu means to pervade from inside, but it doesn't talk about pervading from outside. The meaning of the word Vasudeva means pervading from outside, but it doesn't talk about pervading from inside. Therefore, they're incomplete. The word Naraina talks about both, pervading from inside and outside, and therefore it's complete. Okay. All right. So let's go on. Therefore, it's most important as stated in the following passages. Okay, so here's some quote. So there's some quote. He says this. He says the Thira Mantra is the eight-syllable Thira Mantra is the most important. So does he have any quotes from scripture that say that? Right? Because he may say that, Pilalokaracharya is a great acharya, and he's saying that, so he's not going to say that without there being any scriptural quotes to back that up. So what are his scriptural quotes to back that up? He's giving them here. No mantra is greater than the eight-syllable mantra. Second quote. There is none greater than the eight-syllable mantra. Third quote. Third, he says, now he poses another question. Another question is posed. Why are the other two Vyapaka mantras inferior? To this, he replies, right? So we'll see the reply in a minute, just after we see what P.B. Anandacharya says to the 11th Sutra. So, in the 11th Sutra, it says the Tiruvastakshara mantra, just once again, is considered the first amongst the three Vyapaka mantras that are higher than the Avyapaka mantras. Okay. And the purport, the three important Vyapaka mantras are Om Namo Naraina, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva, Om Namo Vishnave. Amongst these three, the Astakshara mantra, the Om Namo Naraina eight-syllable mantra, which is also known as Periya Thiru Mantram. That's another name for the Astakshara Thira Mantra, eight-syllable mantra, Om Namo Narayana mantra, right? Another Another name for it is called the Periya Thira Mantra. The mantra we know, right? Mantra means a set of prayers, a set of Sanskrit words, right? In the form of a prayer, that helps to control our mind and to give us an understanding of the Lord, right? Mantra. Thiru means Shri, it means beautiful and means all auspicious, right? In Tamil, Thiru means Shri. And Periya means big, the biggest, the best, right? Biggest or best. So Periya Thira Mantram is another name for this mantra, Periya Thira Mantram. People usually just say Thira Mantram, or they say Astakshara Mantram, the 8th syllable. But it can also be called Periya Thira Mantram, is considered the highest. Just as there's no being superior to Sriman Narayana, there's no mantra superior to the Astakshara mantra, right? So he gives a quote here. Yada sarveshu deveshu nasti narayana paraha. Tada sarveshu mantreshu nasti sastak sharat paraha. So that means, in Sanskrit, that means just as there is no deity greater than Lord Narayana, there's no mantra greater than the Narayana mantra, the 8th syllable Narayana mantra. Also, one can see the greatness of the mantra by the fact that it is the first to be taken in the Vishnu Gayatri Mantra. So again, he also mentions this too, that the first name given in the Vishnu Gayatri is Narayana, right? Naraina vidmahe Vasudeva dhimhi tanno Vishnu prachodayat. So the very first one, most important one, name is Naraina. So, continue on with Sutra number 12. So Sutra number 12 here, by Pillai Lokacharya, right? He says, the other two are accepted by the unorthodox, and are incomplete. Okay, so he says that these other two, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya and Om Namo Vishnave, are accepted by the unorthodox, right? Ashishta parigraha. Parigraha means accepting, right? Ashishta. Ashishta, when we say shishtachara, the word shishtachara in Sanskrit means what my forefathers did. What my parampara, who are my forefathers? Okay, so I've got material forefathers, I've got my parents, right? My physical parents, and then I've got my spiritual parents and my spiritual lineage, my gurus, my acharyas, who come in a succession or lineage coming from the Supreme Lord. So shishta means following them, accepting what they have told us. So that lineage teaches that the Astakshara mantra is the greatest and highest mantra. There are other lineages, is what he's saying here. There are other lineages which he calls unorthodox, right? For us, what is orthodox is what our family says, what our lineage says, what our spiritual family says. What other spiritual families may say, what other lineages may say, that for us is unorthodox. So if some people may say, oh, you have a custom in your family, you follow that custom, like that. So we have the custom in our family. This is our orthodox custom that we follow. Our spiritual forefathers teach us that the Astakshara mantra is the greatest mantra, and the other two are lesser, are inferior in some way to that mantra. Therefore, this Astakshara mantra is the best for us. There may be some other lineages which teach that the other one is they may have their own arguments one way or the other like that, but we have our arguments, we have our ideas, we have our doctrines, and this is coming in our lineage like that. So we don't want to fight with other lineages. If they want to see some other thing as better or whatever, that's up to them. But as far as Pillai Lokacharya is concerned, as far as Sri Vaishnavas are concerned, not just Tengalais, but also Wadagalais, as far as the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya is concerned, Astakshara mantra is the best. And if we look at it from the logic and the Shastra that have been presented, we can make a very good argument even against other people who have other arguments. right? If somebody comes to me and says, oh, Hare Krishna mantra is the best, or Rama mantra is the best, or Narasimha mantra is the best, right? If we make these arguments that just came before like that, the Asakshara beats everything. Has to, according to these arguments. Now, other people may make other arguments, and they may have faith in different arguments. That's up to them. But they have to come forward with their scripture. They have to come forward with their Shastra, with their arguments and their pramanas, their proofs from Shastra. If they have arguments and proofs from Shastra, then let's see them, let's discuss them, let's understand them, and let's see what makes sense. Whether our arguments make more sense or their arguments make more sense. In any case, getting away from arguments, this is the system that is the orthodox. This is the orthodox system of Sri Vaishnavas, right? So, of our family, of our lineage, right? Ashishta parigraha, right? Is Ashishta goes against the family, against the tradition of the lineage, Ashishta. So he says two things here in the sutra. One he says is the other two mantras, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Vishnave, are accepted by the unorthodox, right? Not in our understanding, in our lineage, in our family, right? And they're incomplete. So for two reasons, we consider them to be lesser. One is because that's not what our acharyas have told us. That's not what our spiritual family and lineage tell us. And for this, the second reason is what we said before. They're incomplete. And he's going to explain about why they're incomplete. I already gave you a little bit ahead of time explanation, but now he's going to explain what I said, that Vishnu and Vasudeva mean something different than Naraina, a little bit. So the other Vyapaka mantras contain the words Vasudeva and Vishnu, do not expound the Lord's essential nature, form, and qualities, as does the word Naraina, but only his essential nature. Only his essential nature. Therefore, many short-sighted Advaitins, she's put in brackets here, Advaitins, many short-sighted Advaitins, right? Now we could also include here, not just Advaitins, but we could include some other Vaishnavas or some other people who worship Vishnu. There are some Advaitins who also worship Vishnu. Some people who are Mayavadis, who are monists, right? Therefore, there are many short-sighted Advaitins or other worshippers of Vishnu who affirm that Brahman, the supreme in general terms, Brahman means the supreme in general terms, is merely unqualified intelligence. Accept them, right? So for those persons who emphasize that Brahman, the supreme person is just unqualified intelligence. He's just, all-pervasive unqualified intelligence, right? Thus, these concepts that they have, thus they are accepted as unorthodox. So Advaitins, by Sri Vaishnavas consider Advaitins, Mayavadis or monists to be unorthodox, but we could also include within that Madhvas, Gaudiyas, Vallabha, other people from other sampradayas, right, or even other religions like Christianity or Islam or whatever their concept of God, right, is, in his words here, a little short-sighted, not complete. It's not that other people don't have a concept of God. There are many, many religions that have concepts of God. There are many, many Indian religions or sects in Hinduism that have a concept of God. But all these concepts, right, are a little short-sighted compared to the concept that is being given here. Furthermore, they're incomplete. And since they require inferring what it is that the Lord pervades, we are only inferring what he pervades by these two other mantras, right? So Achan Pillai has clearly revealed the incomplete nature of the other two Vyapaka mantras and the completeness of the meaning of the Thira Mantra. The 6-syllable Om Namo Vishnave mantra does not state, one, what it is that the Lord pervades. That is, the world of sentient and insentient beings. Number 2, the method by which he pervades. Number 3, the object or purpose of such pervasion, right? Which is the Shesha-Sheshi relationship. Shesha-Sheshi relationship, Shesha means the servant, Sheshi means the master. The relationship between the servant and the master. And 4, the qualities of the Lord, who is the pervader, right? So he's saying that because the 6-syllable mantra only generally explains about pervasion, but doesn't specifically explain what the Lord pervades, right? By what method he pervades, right? What is the object of his pervasion, right? And the qualities of the Lord who is the pervader, since it only states the fact of pervasion, right? With the verbal root vish, to pervade, it is incomplete. Okay, so in Sanskrit, there are approximately 2,200 verbal roots. And there's actually a list of them given by Panini in a book called Dhatu Pata. The word dhatu, pata means to chant, right? Or lesson. It means a lesson also. Dhatu means the root, verbal root. So all words in Sanskrit are actually made up from verbal roots. So the word Vishnu comes from the root vish. Just like the word Krishna comes from the word karsh, which means to draw or attract or even to plow. Okay, so the word vish means to pervade. So because this word vish means to pervade, but it doesn't explain these 4 things about the pervasion, right? It is incomplete. The 12-syllable mantra, that is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, though it states the method of pervasion, right? Because even Vishnu didn't explain the method of pervasion, right? By taking Vasudeva to mean that he lives, or Vas, it comes from the root Vas. Vasati means Vasami means I live. Vasati means he lives. He dwells. He dwells. So Vasudeva means he dwells everywhere. He dwells everywhere. So by explaining the method of pervasion, right? By taking Vasudeva to mean he lives or he dwells, Vas, in each as a god, he dwells in each as a god. So within everybody's heart as super soul, right? Lacks words referring to what it is that is pervaded. So again, just like Vishnu, it doesn't explain exactly what it is that is pervaded, even though that can be supplied by inferring the word sarva, right? So we can infer that Vasudeva means sarva Vasudeva, that he is dwelling within all, right? To read, he lives in all, sarvam vasati. Vasati means he lives or he dwells, sarvam in all, right? That word sarva does not include any reference to the Lord's qualities. Doesn't include the Lord's qualities. So, in order to establish those qualities, the word Bhagavat, remember Bhagavan or Bhagavat means the possessor of all qualities, possessor of qualities or glories, having glory, right? Of which we talked about there are 6 main, but there are unlimited auspicious qualities. But the word Bhagavan means the possessor of such qualities, of all those qualities, having glory, has to be added. So, they add the word in this Astakshara mantra. They add the word Bhagavate because the rest of the mantra doesn't actually look. The idea is that the Vyapaka mantra should simply be Omkara and Namaha, and in between there should be a name of the Lord in the dative case. That's the idea. So we find that in the 6-syllable mantra, Om Namo Vishnave, right? Namo is Namaha with the Sandhi before the word, before this syllable Va, it turns to O. Namaha becomes, so it's Om Namaha Vishnave becomes Om Namo Vishnave. Okay. So Om Namo Vishnave, and Vishnave is the dative singular. Instead of, you don't say Vishnaya, because it ends in a U, it has to become Vishnave, right? So Om Namo Vishnave is very simple. It's Om, it's Namaha, and it's Vishnu. It's the word Vishnu in the dative case. So it's very simple. But the problems with that have been described as fourfold in previously here. So the problem with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya is Vasudevaya needs some other words to help explain, make it more perfect. So it needs to have an inherent sarvam, and it also needs to explain where he pervades, and it also needs the Bhagavate, needs Bhagavan, right, to explain his qualities, his auspicious qualities, because it hasn't talked about that, right? So it needs this Om Namo is there, just like in Om Namo Vishnave, but instead of just Om Namo Vasudevaya, it has to have Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, because it has to explain also it needs help to explain the qualities of the Lord. So that has to be added. Furthermore, it does not state the purpose. Remember, this was also a fault of the 6-syllable mantra, Om Namo Vishnave. It does not describe the purpose or result of the Lord's pervasion, the Vyapti Phala, the fruit, which again was the Sheshi Shesha, the master-servant relationship, which is the fruit of that pervasion. This Thira Mantra is not like that. So this Achan Pillai, Acharya Achan Pillai, he said that the Thira Mantra, the Astakshara Mantra, Om Namo Naraina, is not like these other two, right? For it shows equally and explicitly, number one, what it is that the Lord pervades. It shows what the Lord pervades. That is, the world of sentient and insentient beings, which is Nara. The one meaning of the word Nara is the world of sentient and insentient beings, the world of the jivas and matter, the universe, right? So it shows what he pervades. It shows what he pervades. And secondly, the result of that pervasion, or the fruit, the Sheshi Sheshi Bhava, Shesha Sheshi Bhava, the relationship between the master and the servant, right, with the dative case ending of Naraina, Narayanaya. The dative case ending of Narayanaya shows that, right? And of course, the dative case ending is there in the other mantras also. But the problem is the other mantras don't explain where, it doesn't explain the exact place. Inherently, it doesn't explain the exact place of the pervasion, the world of sentient and insentient beings. So first of all, understand that Nara means the world. One meaning of Nara is the world of sentient and insentient beings, and therefore, when you have the word Narayanaya, Naraina, adding on the ending aya, which is the dative case, that means that it explains the Shesha Sheshi Bhava, which is the relationship between the master and the servant. And three, the qualities of the pervader. The qualities of the pervader, right? The qualities of the pervader in the 12-syllable mantra had to be given by adding another word. But here it's understood because it's inherent in the word Naraina. The qualities of the pervader, by understanding the meaning of the word Naraina to mean the locus or the abode, the place. Locus means place in Latin. Locus or abode of the Naras. The locus or abode of the Naras. Who are the Naras? Again, the Naras are this world of insentient and sentient beings, insentient matter, and the sentient jiva, the souls. The universe is full of souls and matter, right? What the locus or the abode of those things is Naraina. The word Naraina means the abode, the place of, the whole, everything, the whole. The whole is Naraina, because the whole encompasses the souls and matter, insentient matter. So, by interpreting Naraina to mean the locus or abode of the Naras, who are his attributes? Who are his attributes? That shows his qualities as the qualities of the Pervader. Thus, when compared to the others, the Thira Mantra is superior on account of the richness of its meaning. So we can go into the meaning of the 6-syllable mantra. We can go into the meaning of the 12-syllable mantra. In fact, we can go into the meaning of all the other mantras too, all the Avyapaka mantras. But the Thira Mantra has got such a richness of meaning that it includes so many other meanings. We can just go on forever and ever, explaining the depth of the meaning of the words in the Astakshara mantra and what they mean. So, do the Orthodox accept this mantra? Right? So he's already said the unorthodox, the people outside of Sri Vaishnavism, right? They don't necessarily accept the Astakshara mantra as the greatest mantra. So here he's saying, do the Orthodox, he wants to know, do Orthodox people accept this mantra, right? Again, we're going to see that. Let's look at what P.B. Anangacharya said in his the 12th Sutra according to him. So, again, what is this 12th Sutra about? The meaning of the 12th Sutra is the two Vyapaka mantras, Dwadasakshara and Sadakshara, the 12-syllable and the 6-syllable Vishnu mantras, right? Which are Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya and Om Namo Vishnave, have some drawbacks compared to the 8-syllable Astakshara Vyapaka mantra. They are supported by kudristis. Kudristis means people who see the wrong, who have the wrong idea. Kudristi. Adristi means to see, and ku means bad. So they have the bad, they have wrong ideas. And they're also incomplete in some respects. So here, the word kudristi, he is translated, that's Sanskrit. In the other translation, it was put as unorthodox, and they're incomplete. So he's mentioned those two things, that the unorthodox support these other two mantras, and the Orthodox do not, and therefore, why don't they? Because they're incomplete in some respects. So in his purport here, he says, why is the Naraina mantra considered higher than the Vasudeva mantra and the Vishnu mantra? Even though all three are Vyapaka mantras. All three deal with pervasion, which is the essential quality of the Lord, remember? So, Ashishta Parigraham, right? Ashishta Parigraham, which was mentioned before, following people who are unorthodox, means that they are supported by kudristis, right, the unorthodox, who claim that the Supreme Lord is nirvishesha chinmatram. Nirvishesha chinmatram. Chinmatram means he is consciousness or intelligence. He is just knowledge. All he is pure consciousness and knowledge, and he is not distinguished by any other quality. Nirvishesha. So we know a pranam mantra nirvishesha shunyavadi, right? So nirvishesha means undifferentiated. Undifferentiated. So nirvishesha chin mantra means that there are some people, specifically here he's talking about Advaitins, about Mayavadis, about monists, right? So here, I mean, I suggested that we could also talk about people who believe that these other mantras, some other mantras are better than the Astakshara mantra. There are other Vaishnavas who also think that there are some mantras which are better than the Astakshara. But okay, here specifically he's pointing out the monists. He's specifically pointing out the Advaitins, the Smartas, the Mayavadis. Because those are the people who have the wrong belief that God is only Nirvishesha Chinmatra. Nirvishesha Chinmatra means he is only undifferentiated intelligence or knowledge or consciousness. Consciousness, right? Descartes says, I think, therefore I am, right? So I exist, I am a thinking entity, therefore I exist, right? So what they're saying here is God is simply existence, thinking existence. He's just simply undifferentiated. He doesn't have any other qualities. His only quality, basically, is that he is indistinguishable consciousness, or thought, or knowledge. So, apurti means that they do not explain everything. Apurti means complete. Apurti means incomplete. So, apurti means that he does not explain everything. Those two mantras, the two mantras, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya and Om Namo Vishnave, which are the 12 and 6 syllable mantra, right? They speak about pervasiveness, but they do not explain everything that they seek out to explain, and only talk about one part of it. So why do the unorthodox support the Vasudeva and Vishnu mantras? They claim that the Lord has no special kalyana gunas, right? So the Mayavadis, they say, the Lord doesn't have all these other qualities. He can't have all these different qualities. Because to admit, if you believe that everything is just one undifferentiated Brahman, right? Then you say that he has no qualities. He has the only quality is his consciousness. That's it. Consciousness. He has no special kalyana gunas. He has no special auspicious qualities, and that he does not have a special divine form. And naturally, if somebody has special qualities, he has to manifest that through a form. If you say God doesn't have a form, then naturally you say he doesn't have special qualities, right? Because if somebody has special qualities, he's going to manifest that. He has to manifest that through a special form, right? So if we say, no, these special forms like Vishnu and Krishna and Rama and Narasimha, these are not pure forms of God, but they are just, this is what the Advaitins say, this is what the Kudristis say, this is what the Smartas say. They say ultimately these forms are not fully spiritual because it's only illusion that we see these different forms. Ultimately, these forms, Shankara says, okay, there's a specific term that he uses called Adiasa. Adiasa means there's a superimposition on our consciousness that we think we see this form. Pure consciousness has Maya, has illusion superimposed upon it, and because Maya or because illusion or ignorance is superimposed upon consciousness, therefore we see a form. Okay, the example they give is, for instance, you walk on the beach and you see a shell, and the mother of pearl part of the shell is showing, and it seems to be silver. So you look, you're walking on the beach, you look down and you see it looks like silver. It looks like somebody dropped a silver coin. It's not a silver coin. It's not a piece of silver. It looks like silver. to you, because because ignorance of its true form, of its true nature, ignorance of its true nature is superimposed upon your consciousness. So you have some consciousness and you're walking along and you look at the shell. Ignorance of not really knowing what it is forcing you, is making you, is tricking you into thinking that it's a coin. It's not a coin. It's not a silver. It's not a piece of silver. It's just a shell, right? Or the rope is a snake, right? Like that. Because it's dark, you look and you see, you don't quite see. You see a little bit, but you don't quite see. You see something like this and you think it's a snake, but it's actually a rope. That's the ignorance superimposed upon your consciousness. So the ignorance superimposed upon the consciousness, there is just one big consciousness, according to Smartus. It's just one big consciousness, and the ignorance is superimposed upon it. And because of the ignorance superimposed upon it, we see Krishna and Rama and Narasimha, or even Ganesha and Durga and Shiva, or even ourselves, right? As the jiva, as the individual soul, right? We see all these things, but actually these things don't exist. It's just one big ball of consciousness. It's just one big consciousness, and has no specific individual qualities, and therefore no individual forms. Those things are not real. Those things appear real, but they're real, but they're not real. They appear real, but it's just like when I see if I look and I see a rope, if I see a snake instead of the rope because it's dark, and I mistake a rope for a snake, then for a minute, for a second, I think it's a snake. But that's only temporary. Ultimately, I turn the light on and I say, oh, it's a rope. When I come to my realization. So similarly, when we come to total realization, we understand that I don't exist, Krishna doesn't exist, Rama doesn't exist, nothing exists. This world doesn't exist, nothing exists, right? Which is what they say, Brahma Satyam, only Brahman is supreme, only Nirvishesha Chinmatram, only consciousness, pure undifferentiated consciousness exists, and Jagat Mitra, this world of names and forms and avatars and jivas and matter doesn't exist. None of that exists. That's what this philosophy is. Okay, so those people, right, why do they support? They support the Vasudeva and Vishnu mantras over Astakshara mantra. They claim that the Lord has no special kalyana gunas, and therefore he doesn't have a special divine form. Ultimately, even though you find Mayavadis in India, you have even Smartas in India, they're worshipping deities of Krishna and Rama or Shiva and Durga, whatever, whoever. They're worshipping so many deities, but still, ultimately, their ultimate thought is that none of this exists. I don't exist, you don't exist, this world doesn't exist, the avatars don't exist. They don't exist. They're only a superimposition of ignorance on pure consciousness. Okay, so they think that there are these two divisions of reality, that we see the world as being flat here, but when we go up when we go high, when we go up into space, we see the world as a ball. That's one example, right? So that's what they call Vyavaharika and Paramarthika. There are two levels of reality like that. We don't accept that. So they claim that he doesn't have a special divine form because they claim he doesn't have special qualities. Form and qualities, very important. They only consider his form as one that pervades everything and nothing more. So they say, okay, Brahman pervades everything. That we agree on. All Vedantins, all people who follow the Vedas and who understand the Upanishads, they all accept that the Supreme pervades everything. So if you meet an Advaitin, you meet a Mayavadi, you meet a Smarta, you say, the Supreme pervades everything. We can agree on that. Yeah, we agree. But where we disagree is he has no real form, no real qualities, no real avatars, and this world is not is not real. That they say. That they say, yeah, but all this universe of names and forms and avatars is all unreal. That's what they say, right? It goes totally against our actual perception, and also scripture. It goes against scripture, but it also goes against actual, everyday perception, right? You really have to be convinced that everything is nothing. It's very difficult, actually. Very difficult to convince yourself of this, right? It doesn't make a lot of logical sense or even shastric sense. But anyway, there are people who believe it. Okay, so they only consider his one form, that he pervades everything and nothing more. The Vishnu and Vasudeva mantras speak mainly of his all-pervading form and not his gunas, not his qualities, and not his other forms. Right? So as such, the Kudristis or the Smartas, right, support these mantras to a great extent. Okay. So what if the Kudristis support these mantras? So who cares? Why do they then consider them? Why do then they consider them lower? Why do we consider them lower? Right? So forget about the Mayavadis, forget about the Smartas, right? Why do we therefore consider these two mantras to be lower? Would we stop eating a food item just because it is being eaten by these people, by other people, right? So just because the Mayavadis, just because the Advaitins, they think that the Astakshara, the 6-syllable and the 12-syllable Vishnu mantras are great, and they use them, right? Why should we give them up? Is the point? Why should we give them up, right? Just because we consider another, just like you might have 3 foods, and you might consider one food to be better than the others, but you might also eat the other foods, right? Why not? To answer this, Pilalokacharya points out that these mantras are somewhat incomplete. They're somewhat incomplete, right? So, for instance, you might have 3 foods, and somebody might say, "Well, this food is perfect because it has complete protein and fat and carbohydrate in a particular mixture, but these other foods are not complete." Like we often hear that rice by itself without beans or something like that, legumes, is not complete protein. So we prefer to, have a complete food rather than an incomplete food. It doesn't mean you can't eat. If you eat complete food, you can't eat incomplete food. But here he's giving that example that these other mantras are incomplete, which is why we don't prefer them. We don't prefer them. We prefer the Om Namo Naraina mantra because it's complete. It's a complete understanding. It's a complete understanding. Now you can see how it's so important. The meaning of the mantra is so important because the meaning is so deep, right? It's not just the chanting of the mantra. Some people say, "Oh no, just chant the mantra, just chant Hare Krishna, or just chant Rama mantra, or just chant Narasimha. Just chant the mantra." But the deep meaning of Astakshara mantra, Om Namo Narayanaya, is so important. The meaning of all mantras are important. And the meaning of these other mantras also are important. But the other mantras' meanings, the avyapaka mantras, and even the other vyapaka mantras, the other 2 vyapaka mantras, their meaning is incomplete when compared to the Astakshara mantra. And that's why there's so much emphasis on the Astakshara mantra. So, it is not sufficient that the mantra explains that he's all-pervading. It should also explain what is being pervaded by him and what is the effect of such pervasiveness. The nature and the qualities of he who pervades all has to be also shown. The Vishnu mantra does not do all of this. In the case of the Vasudeva mantra, right? So here he's explained those four aspects that are not shown in the Om Namo Vishnave mantra, the 6-syllable mantra. In the Vasudeva mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, it shows that he pervades everything by being present in the heart, antaryami, of everything. right? Within every atom and also within our heart, right? And that is called Vasuditi Vasuhu. Vasuditi Vasuhu. Vasu iti Vasuhu. Vasu, right? But it does not speak of who or what is being pervaded. The 12-syllable mantra. It speaks of his gunas, his qualities, only because it has this extra word, only by the use of another word, Bhagavate. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It has to be supported. The word, what we're saying here is the word Vasudeva by itself has to be supported by another word, Bhagavan, and even by another thought, an inherent thought that is Sarva Vasudeva. Right? That we were discussing. That it's everywhere, everything is being pervaded by him. And it has to be supported in the mantra externally by having another word, Bhagavate, which is Bhagavan, right? Which means that he has all auspicious qualities, all qualities that has to be shown. It does not explain why he pervades, that is the fruit of the pervasiveness. Therefore, the 12-syllable and the 6-syllable mantras are incomplete. Such incompleteness does not qualify the Tiruvastakshara Maha Mantra. He calls it a Maha Mantra. The other word we used here was Periya Tirumantram. When we say Periya Mantra or Periya Tirumantram, it means Maha Mantra. The word Periya in Tamil means Maha in Sanskrit. If I translate Periya to Sanskrit from Tamil, it becomes Maha or great. It's just like we have Periya Nambi, the guru of Ramanuja becomes in Sanskrit Mahapurna. His Sanskrit name is Mahapurna. So Periya becomes Maha, right? So Maha Mantra in Tamil is Periya Tirumantram. So Tiruvastakshara, the Tiruvastakshara mantra, Maha Mantra, the Nara part explains the nature of who or what is pervaded. Right? We discussed this before, because Nara can be explained as everything that is, this whole world of souls, of sentient and insentient beings. The Naraina part explains that he pervades all. Antaryamitva. He is the super soul of all. He is the super soul of all beings in the heart and of all atoms. And that he supports all, that he's supporting all, right? Shesha Sheshi Bhava. That he is a support. He is our master. He's our support. He's our only means. He's all these things. The ayana part, right? There's Narayana. There's Nara and ayana. Ayana explains that he is the means or the upaya, and it also means that, and also explains that he is the end or the upaya. He is the sadhya of sadhana. He is the goal. He is the means and the goal, both, and that is explained by the part of Naraina, ayana, the part ayana. So Narayana, he is the goal, or he's the means for all sentient and non-sentient beings, Narayana, and he's also the goal for all sentient and non-sentient beings, Narayana, right? Thus, this mantra is complete as it explains what is being pervaded, how it's being pervaded, the effect of pervasiveness, and the nature of he who pervades all. So because of that, it is most complete. It is complete and more complete than these other Vyapaka mantras, and even more complete than the Avyapaka mantras, which don't even really address this essential quality of Vyapaka, of pervasiveness. So continuing on, the 13th Sutra. So the question came up, right? Okay, after having explained all this, do the orthodox persons, who do we understand as orthodox persons? In the other translation, he was saying kudristis are unorthodox. So the persons who have wrong vision, persons who are Mayavadis or Advaitins or Smartas, right? And I also pointed out that some other Vaishnava sects also might have what we consider to be slightly different understandings or slightly wrong visions, right? So do the orthodox here, when he says orthodox, he means the sudristis, the people who have good vision, people who have the best understanding, right? Do the people who have the best understanding, who are those persons, and do they accept the Thira Mantra as the best, right? So let's see that, right? So obviously, after saying this, Pillai Lokacharya, after going through this and saying, look, there's all these mantras, we divide them into these are avyapaka, these do not mention the essential essence of the Lord, and these three do, and out of these three, one of them is better than the others for these reasons, right? So after that, he says, is there anybody who accepts this? Is there actually anybody, any orthodox people, who saints and sages or whatever, are there people who actually accept this? Can we show this in the scripture and in our books, that in our history, in our tradition, that the Orthodox accepted this? So the 13th Sutra says the answer to this: the Vedas, which is the highest pramana, right? The highest proof, the highest scripture, the highest scriptures, the Vedas, the Rishis. Who are the Rishis? The Rishis are the seers of the Vedas, the persons who intuited the Vedas, who gave us the Vedas, right? The Vedas, the Rishis, right? The Alwars. Who are the Alwars? The Alwars are persons who also understood, intuited the Lord, right? They're seers, but their writings were not in Sanskrit. Their writings were in Tamil. So we have, in Sri Vaishnavism, is often called Ubhaya Vedanta. Ubhaya Vedanta, Ubhaya means the twin tracks or dual, right? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Senayor Ubhayor Madhye. He says to Arjuna. Arjuna says to Krishna, Senayor Ubhayor Madhye. Take me in between the two armies, right? So there are these two tracks. There are these two armies. There are these two things. When we see there are two things, we say in Sanskrit, Ubhayor. One side and the other side, Ubhayor. So there are two things in Sri Vaishnava. There's actually many things, but there's two main tracks, two main paths here in Sri Vaishnava. The Sanskrit, the Vedas, and the Tamil, the Nalayir Divya Prabandham, the 4,000 Tamil songs and prayers of the Alwars. And they mean, when we can quote from both of them, we can take pramanam, we can take scriptural proof from both of these scriptures, and they both mean the same thing. They both extol and praise Srimad Naraina as the supreme, right? So the Vedas, the Rishis of the Vedas, we should say here the Divya Prabandham, the Alwars, and their scripture that they gave us. So the Rishis and the scripture they gave us is the Vedas. The Alwars and the scripture that they gave us is the Divya Prabandham. And the Acharyas. Coming after the Alwars, the Acharyas, our lineage, our spiritual forefathers, right? All of these have preferred the Astakshara mantra. There is not one person, there is not one scripture, right, that the Sri Vaishnavas, that are passed down in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, that doesn't extol above all other mantras this Astakshara mantra. So that's his answer. His answer is, the question is, Is there anybody who says that this Astakshara mantra is the greatest? And he says, all of them, all the Vedas, all the Rishis, all the Alvars, all the Acharyas have all preferred this mantra. We see more preference for this mantra than any other mantra. In the Vedas, in the Prabandhas, by the Rishis, by the Alvars, and by the Acharyas, there is more preference for this mantra than any other mantra. So not only I'm explaining to you logically and shastrically why this mantra is better, but even if I get the recommendation of all the Vedas, all the Rishis, all the Alvars, and all the Acharyas, the main recommendation by all of them is going to be for this one only, above and beyond all the others. In the Vishnu Gayatri, in referring to the three Vyapaka mantras, right? What are the three Vyapaka mantras again? There are Vyapaka and Avyapaka mantras. The Avyapaka mantras deal with specific qualities and specific forms of the Lord. The Vyapaka mantras deal with pervasiveness, which is the essential quality of the Lord. Out of those, there are three: Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and Om Namo Vishnave, the 8, 12, and 6 syllable mantras. In the Vishnu Gayatri, again, Vishnu Gayatri, Narayana Gayatri, Narayana Vidmahe Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tanno Vishnu Prachodayat. In the Vishnu Gayatri, in referring to the three Vyapaka mantras, the word Narayana is put first. Number one, put first because of its preeminence. The word Narayana is put first, right? Because of its preeminence. Look at the Bhagavatam, right? The story of Ajamil in the sixth canto. He chanted the word Narayana. He didn't chant Om Namo Narayana, okay, but he chanted the word Narayana. The word Narayana was put there in that story, right? Right? He didn't chant Hare Krishna at the time of death. He chanted Naraina, right? There's so many examples and so many stories of the word Naraina being important. The word Naraina is put first in the Vishnu Gayatri, right? Where does the Vishnu Gayatri come? It comes in the Veda. It comes in the Mahanarayana Upanishad or Yajnika Upanishad, which is part of the Taitya Aranyaka, which is part of the Krishna Yajurveda. Yeah? Narayana Gayatri, or Shishprotha Vishnu Gayatri. Narayana Vidmahe Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tanno Vishnu Prachodayat. First comes Narayana. The first mention of the name of the Lord is Narayana. Narayana Upanishad. Narayanad Brahmo Jayate, Narayanad Indro Jayate, Narayanad Prajapate Prajayante, Atanityo Narayanaha, Shivascha Narayanaha. Narayana, 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 Narayana. Even Kalishantaranya Upanishad, which tells to chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it is said to be a name of Narayana. Naraina. This word Narayana is coming all the time and is primary. It's the primary name. Ignoring the words Vasudeva and Vishnu, right? The Upanishads indicate the Lord's essential nature with the word Narayana. Okay? So we have this Mahanarayana Upanishad, which is going to, Mahanarayana Upanishad is going to be explained here. It's going to be quoted here, right? Which I just quoted, right? It doesn't say Vasudeva. It doesn't say Vishnu. It says Narayana. It uses that word because it wants to be specific. It wants to give the primary word. The number one, first quotation, the Narayana Anuvaka, right? Means the section, the Narayana section of the Mahanarayana Upanishad, right? The essence of all the Vedantas begins with the world is Narayana. The world is Narayana. And says, Narayana is the supreme Brahman. Narayana is the supreme reality. Narayana is the supreme light. Narayana is the supreme or Param Atma, the Paramatma. He's not the Atma, he's the Paramatma, the supreme Atma, right? The infinite Atma, not the infinitesimal Atma. Whatever in the world is seen or even heard, within or without, all that Narayana has pervaded. The Mahopanishad, number 2, the Mahopanishad says, only the one Narayana was there. Neither Brahma, nor Ishana, meaning Shiva, nor the earth or the sky. In the beginning, there was only one, Narayana. Number 3, the Subala Upanishad. These are all Upanishads. This is all the Vedas. These are the highest pramanas that are being given here. The Subala Upanishad, in the section beginning with the statement, the things to be seen and the eye to see are Narayana. What sees is Narayana. What is seen is Narayana. The things to hear and the ear to hear are Narayana. What is heard is Narayana. What hears is Narayana. Ends with the statement, the directions, north, south, east, west, etc., and the subsidiary directions, right? Northeast, southwest, etc., are Narayana, which also occur in between. Everything is Narayana, right? The Subala Upanishad's Antaryami Brahmana. The Antaryami Brahmana, the Brahmana is a section of the Vedas. Antaryami means the supersoul. So the section of the Vedas that deals with the supersoul, Subala Upanishad's Antaryami Brahmana, which begins with, he whose body is the Atma. He whose body is the Atma. This is directly an understanding of Sharira Shariri Bhava of Ramanuja. The body of God is the soul, is the individual and the universe. The universe and the individual soul are the body of God. God is the soul of us, the soul of souls, right? The soul is what supports the body, right? The analogy is the soul supports the body. Without the soul, the body decays and dies. It's dead. Without God, this whole material universe and the individuals are also dead. They're nothing. They can't exist without him. They come from him, right? He pervades them and supports them. He whose body is the Atman, he meaning the Supreme Lord, whose body is the Atman, whose body is the earth. So sentient and insentient beings of this universe are his body, He has a relationship to them as the soul has to the body. The relationship of our soul to our body is the same as the relationship between God and the material world of jivas, of individuals and elements. Sharira, Shariri, Bhava. Sharira means body. Shariri means the soul, the supporter of the body. Right. He is the soul of everything. He is the inner soul of everything. So he whose body is the Atman, whose body is earth, whose body is the earth, ends with he whose body is death, and states in between the inner soul of all, without any evil or sin, the one divine deity is Naraina. So that's coming from the Antaryami Brahmana of the Subala Upanishad. Therefore, the unauthored, eternally flawless, and self-authoritative Vedas, right, unauthored, right, they were intuited or seen in the meditation of the seers, of the Rishis, but they're unauthored. They're completely eternally flawless. They have no mistake in them, and they're eternal, and they are self-authoritative. They are what we call swata pramana. Pramana means proof. Swata means self-evident proof. The Vedas are self-evident proof. You don't have to prove the Vedas. You just have to read what the Vedas say. The Vedas are truth. Ignoring the words Vasudeva and Vishnu, the unauthored, eternal, flawless, and self-authoritative Vedas have said they have preferred this name Narayana for referring to the Lord's essential nature. Okay? we look at throughout the Vedas, we'll find that it's preferred. The preferred word is Naraina, and not Vasudeva and not Vishnu. The Rishis, in their works, have elaborated the Vedic truths, have also praised this mantra, the Thira Mantra, in many places. So he's going to give some more examples. He's given from the Upanishads now. Now he's going to explain other exclamations by the Rishis to explain that the Thira Mantra is the greatest. Just as amongst all gods, there's no higher than Naraina, so amongst all mantras, there is no higher than the 8-syllable mantra. And that's a quote. Listen, sons and disciples, raising my hands, I solemnly affirm to you here and now that there is no mantra greater than the 8-syllable mantra. The 8-syllable Thira Mantra, whose meaning is the essence of all the Vedanta, transporting all across the flood of samsara. It's a flood. It's not an easy, even a river or an ocean. It's a flood. It's so difficult to cross, right? Is the refuge for men who want no more rebirth. This 8-syllable Thira Mantra. Those who are distressed, downcast, distraught, afraid, and afflicted with terrible diseases after reciting merely the word Naraina are released from their trouble and become happy. The word Naraina is available and the tongue is under the word Naraina is available and the tongue is under their control. Even so, people are falling into the most horrible hell. How surprising. How surprising that people are going to hell, that they're staying in samsara when people have control of their tongue and the word Naraina is available to them. Why don't they just chant the word Naraina? Why don't they just chant the name Naraina? This is surprising. What is the use of many mantras? What is the use of many vows? The mantra, Namo Narayanaya, achieves all aims. Achieves all aims. Right? Therefore, the great Rishi, such as Vedavyas, Vasudeva, who are the great Rishis who are like Vedavyas, who are devoted to clarifying the meaning of the Vedas, right? Because the Vedas, sometimes we misunderstand the Vedas, right? Because they're sometimes a little obtuse or a little difficult to understand. So then Vedavyasa came and many other Rishis came and they wrote books, and even the Acharyas have come and they've explained them. They have all preferred this mantra, Om Namo Narayanaya. All the Alvars, the great saints who were immersed in complete love of God, who understood all things, samadhi, gata, sama, stava, stuti stava, stuva stava, right? Right? All the Alvars who've understood all things, due to the uncaused grace of the Lord, nirhetika, bhagavat, kataksha, right? Or we can say nirhetika bhagavata kripa, or nirhetika kripa, we can just say, right? Nirhetika means causeless grace. So again, all the Alvars who understood everything, right? They were completely absorbed in the love of God, right? And due to the causeless grace of God, they also stated in the passage, the one who was given the gift of the one who has given the gift of illusion-free wisdom, the one who's given the gift of wisdom, which is illusion-free, also preferred the word Narayana and the Thira Mantra, which can be seen below, right? So he said that the Alvars, here are some quotes from the Divya Prabandham, from the Alvars, also explaining that how they prefer the word Narayana and the actual mantra, Thira Mantra, Om Namo Narayanaya. Namalwar, in his Tiruvai Moli, which is his magnum opus of 1,000 verses, begins with Narayana of great fame and glorious Narayana, and ends with Narayana of flourishing fame. Perialwar, the foster father of Andal, right, begins his Divya Prabandhas, his Prabandhas, right, by saying, so that people of the city and the country will understand the phrase Namo Narayana and says continually, I am uttering Namo Narayana. Kulashekara Alwar, also sometimes called Perumal Kulashekara Alwar, begins with repeating Kulashekara, King Kulashekara, begins with repeating the name of Narayana as if it is branded on one's tongue, and ends by saying Narayana resplendent with all auspicious qualities. Tirumalasai Piran means a great person. It means Tirumalasai Alwar, begins, Narayana created the four-faced Brahma, and says, those who recite the 8 syllables can rule heaven. Tirumangai Alwar, the last of the Alwars chronologically, says, I have realized the name of Narayana, and in the beginning, I've realized the name of Naraina in the beginning, and then repeats it in the same way 9 times. He concludes that just as he has begun, saying, Naraina, lustrous as a gem, lying on the serpent couch, please come. So they all use this term Naraina. They all use this word Naraina, and they all mention Namo Narayana, Namo Narayanaya. The first 3 Alwars, okay, so in Alwars, there are 12 Alwars. Some people say there are 10 Alwars because they say Madhu Kavi Alwar didn't pray directly about the Lord, and he prayed only to his guru, Namalwar, and Andal was an incarnation of Bhudevi, or therefore she isn't considered to, they consider them 10 Alwars, but if we consider, normally we consider there are 12 Alwars, so 3 of them were called Mudal Alwars, or the first 3. So the first 3 Alwars are Pogai, Budit, and Pei Alwars. So Pogai, Budit, Pei Alwars. These are called, together they form a group called the Mudal Alwars. The word Mudal in Tamil means first, right? So if people say here the first Alwars, it's a translation of Mudal Alwars. So the Mudal Alwars, one of the reasons is because there's a story about them that they all got together at one point. Whereas some of the other Alwars, we don't know if they met each other, but the first 3 Alwars definitely got together. There was a situation where there was a rainstorm, and one Alwar came to the hut of some Rishi, and the front porch was there, and it was just big enough. It was just a couple of meters long and 1 meter wide, and so he asked, could he take shelter there for the night from the storm, and so he lay down there. And then the second Alwar came along, and he said, is there any room for me? And so the first Alwar said, where there's room for one to lie, 2 can sit. So 2 of them sat there under the porch and were out of the rain. What happened was a third Alwar came along, and he said, is there any room for me? And so the 2 Alwars who were sitting there said, well, where 1 can lie, 2 can sit, 3 can stand, right? So they all 3 stood on the porch and were out of the rain. At that time, the Supreme Lord Sriman Naraina thought, look at these are my devotees, these are my bhaktas, these are the saints who are completely surrendered to me. I want to be close to them. So he also came in that place, and in the dark, the 3 saints felt the presence of another person, the 4th person, and that was Sriman Naraina. So we know that they all met because of this pastime. So very often it will be said the first Alwars, meaning the Mudal Alwars, have said something. So what did the Mudal Alwars say? What did the first Alwars say? The first Alwars said, with garland in hand, I learned the garland of words, Namo Narayana. It is our duty to recite Narayana. I have lit the lamp with the good light of wisdom for Narayana, the names of Narayana. Unless I see Narayana, there is no daylight. Uttering the name Narayana many times. Therefore, ignoring the other mantras, they each considered this one as their refuge. Since the people who have resorted to them at the time of their instruction were taught that this mantra, Thira Mantra, was the basis of spiritual upliftment, the acharyas who followed the alvars also preferred it. So not only the alvars, but the acharyas who came after them instructed people, and therefore everybody has preferred this Om Namo Narayanaya mantra, or the term Naraina. Thus, the excellence of this mantra in comparison to the other mantras has been stated. After this, he reveals the excellence this mantra has, even in comparison to the one to whom it refers. So next, he's going to explain how the Astakshara mantra, Thira Mantra, is considered even greater than Lord Naraina himself. A little bit of hyperbole here, but he's explaining, he's going to explain that next. So let's just quickly have a look at what P.B. Nangacharya says for this 13th Sutra, and then we can conclude for today. Again, the 13th Sutra. This Tiruvastakshara Maha Mantra is loved and supported by the Vedas, the Rishis that came to explain the Vedas, the Alvars, as well as our Acharyas. So right there is a reason why we should adopt this mantra as our prime mantra, as our most important mantra. The mantras, other than the Thira Mantra, came to be supported by the Kudristis or the Advaitins, the Smartas, because of their incompleteness. Conversely, we would expect that because of its incompleteness, because of its completeness, the Thira Mantra would be greatly supported by the true followers of Sriman Naraina. This is shown in this sutra. Here, the Vedas means the height of the Vedas, which is the Upanishads. In many Upanishads, in the Itihasas and Puranas, which are written by the great Rishis, the divine works of the Alvars, the Nalaya Divya Prabandham, the 4,000 divine songs and prayers in Tamil, and in the knowledge imparting works of all our acharyas, of which Mumuksupadi is one of them, right? The greatness of the Thira Mantra is well spoken about. So, we finished up to the end of the 13th Sutra. I think we can leave it here for this week, and we can pick it up later on. Does anybody have any questions or comments about this particular part, explaining about the mantras, about the Avyapaka, Vyapaka mantras, about how they're divided up, about the why out of the three Vyapaka mantras, why two of them are considered incomplete, one of them is considered more complete, and why the preference is to the Om Namo Narayana mantra?
I don't think so, Swami. I think it's very, very complete. I need to listen to it again, but it's really very inspiring. The whole thing that I've heard is very, very inspiring. That how great the treasure of the Thira Mantra is, and how much more we can appreciate it. It's just interesting how another Sampradaya, has said that actually this mantra, that we mentioned as the Thira Mantra, as we know as the Thira Mantra, they say it's like from another age. It's not for this age. It's not for Kali Yuga, But it shows here clearly, very, very clearly, that it's for all time. So I just appreciating it like that.
Yeah, like I was saying, there are other sects. He says here clearly that the Advaitins, the Smartas, will prefer other mantras, and they may even prefer other mantras, Shiva mantras or Durga mantras or whatever it is. What to speak of Vishnu mantras, that they'll prefer some other mantras, Narasimha mantras, other Avyapaka mantras. But even amongst the Vyapaka mantras, the 12-syllable and the 6-syllable are preferred. Now we can even understand, it's interesting to understand that there are some temples, even in Sri Vaishnava controlled temples, where the main mantras are these 12-syllable and 6-syllable mantras, according to Pancharatra. But Sri Vaishnavism is not just Pancharatra. Sri Vaishnavism is not just Pancharatra. It is not just the Tamil prayers of the Alvars. It is not just the Vishishta Advaita Vedanta of Ramanuja. It is all three of these things put together, right? And so once we put all these three things together, we see that there is a predominance of the Astakshara mantra. So although there might be temples like Kanchipuram, in Kanchipuram, Varadaraj Perumal Temple, they use Om Namo Vishnave, the 6-syllable Vishnu mantra, more in the puja, in the worship there, and also in the in Sri Rangam. In Sri Rangam, they use Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, the 12-syllable mantra, more. In Melkote, they use the Astakshara mantra, Om Namo Naraina, more. But those are specific samhitas, and that's because those temples are following specific Pancharatra samhitas. But in the house and in the philosophy of Sri Vaishnavism in general, right, there is a specific preference for the Astakshara mantra, and this is very, very clear. It's not that Sri Vaishnavas in Kanchi or in Sri Rangam are saying, no, we have a preference for these other mantras, these 12-syllable and 6-syllable mantras. Everybody has a preference for this 8-syllable mantra. Very clear.
And it shows clearly how this one mantra can be used to worship any form of the Lord, any avatar. Like we were discussing from Pancharatra, they just chant this for any. It could be Rama, it could be Krishna, it could be Varaha. This one mantra can be used for everything.
Yeah, like if we look, for instance, at Hari Bhakti Vilas, we were discussing Hari Bhakti Vilas. In Hari Bhakti Vilas, it explains that there are different mantras, and the guru can initiate people into different mantras. It gives a preference for the Gopal mantra because it's a Gaudiya Vaishnava text. And everybody in Gaudiya Vaishnavism gets initiated into the Gopal mantra. But so in the same way, in Sri Vaishnavism, everybody's being initiated into the Astakshara mantra, right? They might use other mantras sometimes, but the main mantra is the Astakshara mantra. And the thing is that we have a reason for that. And there's a philosophical reason, and that's being explained here. Now, Pancharatra, different Pancharatric Samhitas the Parameshwara Samhita, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, is emphasized. So there are certain Pancharatrins who are priests who are in Sri Vaishnavism who are emphasizing certain mantras and things like that. But those people, when they give initiation, when people are initiated by them, even if they're priests or when they're initiated, they give them the initiation in Sri Vaishnavism is always Astakshara mantra. Is always, whereas these other Vyapaka mantras aren't necessarily given to people. It doesn't mean that people can't use them, because it's all understood to be included in the Astakshara mantra. The Astakshara mantra is most complete, and therefore that's why it's given.
And Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, it seems to be very much preferred by the Smartas and the Monists, isn't it? They use this mantra a lot.
Yeah, you don't actually hear Om Namo Vishnave much, and some people say Om Vishnave Namaha. That also would be 6 syllables, including Namaha and Vishnu. You don't hear this, the use of the 6-syllable mantra much. You hear Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya a lot, and as I said, they're giving their interpretation of that, and they have their idea about that. And it's also used. It's used in a lot of things. I mean, people use it at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You know. So, but as I said, we have a reason. We have reasons for adhering to, to Om Namo Naraina as the most perfect mantra, the best mantra, the most complete mantra. If other people have they may have some reasons also. It's not like the scriptures also talk about these other mantras. So these are also other great mantras. They're not, we shouldn't think that they're not great mantras. They're also great mantras. And even the Avyapaka mantras, we have the Ugram Veera Mahavishnu mantra of Narasimha. There are so many mantras. the Sri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama, the Ramataraka mantra. These are all great mantras, right? But if we analyze them, if we analyze what is best, right, in the way that it was analyzed today, we come up with Om Namo Narayanaya. Now, if it'd be interesting to have people from different groups sit down and talk about their reasons, their reasons for accepting, Gopal mantra or Hare Krishna mantra or Ram Taraka mantra or Narasimha mantra as being best. So that would be enlivening to sit down and to discuss that with other Vaishnavas sometime, and we could even come up with all the scriptural, quotes that say this is the best or that is the best, and we see a lot of times we see that in the scriptures it'll say this is the best, this is the best. So we understand that there is one which is most complete and one who's most best, right? It doesn't mean that the others aren't good or best or great, right? It just means according to our understanding, because we understand the completeness of our understanding is that this is the best. Now, they have other people have other realizations, and they have other ideas about how to understand what is best. And we don't really want to disturb other people too much, but we have our reasons, and we've stated our reasons, right? And this is the reason of our family, of our Shishtachar. This is our sampradaya.
Yeah, Swamiji, is there also a system of chanting the Om Namo Narayana mantra on japa beads? They do that in the Sri Sampradaya?
Yeah,
like the mantra?
The reason for having beads is for counting a number. You can chant on your fingers. You can chant on beads. There's other ways. If you have a thing which makes allows you to count. Just going to mute you for a second. Allows you to count in some way. Yeah, of course. And the guru, when he gives the mantra, he also should explain the japanga, the meaning of the mantra, the lineage of the mantra, how to chant the mantra, how to meditate on the mantra, the meditation mantra for the mantra. We explain all this. Ashta Shrimad Asta Akshara Mantra Sibhadrakashra Vasi Shumanarayana Rishi Devi Gayatri Pramatma Shimanarayana Devata Bijamaya Shakti. There are things called japangas. There are nyasas, and it's not difficult, very simple method. So there may be alwars or different people who have chanted Naraina or Namo Narayana or Namo Narayanaya or Om Namo Narayanaya, right? There may be people who have done that without doing achaman, without doing pranayam, without doing all these things. For instance, there's also astakshara pranayam. There's a way of doing pranayam with astakshara. So all these things are explained by the acharya. The acharya explains all these things. He gives initiation, he gives the mantra, but he doesn't just give the mantra. He gives the way of using the mantra, the way of meditating on the mantra, the understanding of the mantra, the lineage of the mantra, and all the rituals of how to use the mantra in those ways, how to chant on japa beads, he'll explain everything. So yeah, all those things are there. So people who are very much interested, they can learn from the acharya how to do all those things in a very traditional way. But like I said, there are people who just chanted Namo Narayanaya or Narayanaya, and they got the greatest benefit. Ajamil is an example. He just chanted Narayana without the ayah, without the Namo, without the Om. So yeah, if you want to do japa but we should also guard against this idea that the only thing that we can do with a mantra is japa. That's not. There are two things which are important with a mantra. One is how we use it. So we can use it in japa, we can use it in homa, we can use it in tarpana, we can use it in other rituals, in puja, right? So there are so many ways that we can use the mantra. but also the more important thing is the meaning of the mantra. What does the mantra mean? Meditation on the meaning of the mantra, the internals of the mantra, the philosophy behind the mantra. That's important. So both those things, both meditation on the meaning and chanting of the mantra or use of the mantra, right? We always chant it when we use it. We chant it in puja, we chant it in homa, we chant it in japa, we chant it in many ways. So those two things, it's best to combine those two things and with the understanding of the mantra and also the use of the mantra. So just use of the mantra by itself, just get the mantra and use the mantra by itself without understanding the mantra, that's okay, that's good. But to understand the meaning of the mantra is more important, and meditate on the meaning of the mantra. Even if we don't do so many repetitions of the mantra, but to understand the meaning of the mantra is the important part. Why do we recite things a lot? Why do I, if I want to learn something, if I want to truly understand something, I say it again and again and again. I write it again and again and again. I do it again and again and again. I repeat it. The goal is to understand it. The goal is to remember it. If I remember it and I understand it, then maybe I don't have to repeat it so much, or it's not necessary. It doesn't mean that I won't repeat it a lot, but I don't have to if I understand it, because the understanding is the most important thing, right? So some people, sometimes they get the point I'm trying to make is that repetition, a number of repetitions is not the thing which is called for in the Sri Sampradaya. Nobody is saying to you, you should chant 16 rounds of Om Namo Narayana every day. Nobody's saying that to you. Nobody's saying to you that you should even chant one time Om Namo Narayana each day. What they're saying to you is you should understand what Om Namo Narayana is, and you should be living Om Namo Narayana, and through your understanding of Om Namo Narayana, because what does it mean? Right? It means that we understand that we are eternally subservient and meant for serving the Supreme Lord. So whether we chant it one time or a million times, it doesn't matter. It's the understanding of the mantra which is most important. We also can use it. We can also chant it. We can also use it in Homa. We can use it. So there's not an emphasis on japa. There's not an emphasis on doing a certain number. It's not an emphasis on numbers. It's not a numbers game. No, it's an understanding game. That's the emphasis. Quality, understanding. So yeah, that doesn't mean people don't do japa. People do japa of Astakshara, of course. We do japa of Gayatri. We do japa of Astakshara. We can do every day. We can do some Astakshara of japa. Nice.